And a pleasant good evening to you and yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network and Mouthin All Sports Talk. It must be Sunday night if Alan's sitting here in an Orioles jersey, currently whipping up on the New York Yankees 7-1. First time Sunday night baseball back in Baltimore, hon, since 2016. And I think the last time they were there, they were only there because their truck broke down on the way to Philadelphia, New York, or Boston. But anyway, they're there, and the Orioles was 6 in the first, lead the Yankees 7-1. Obviously, we'll talk Major League Baseball tonight. Some big trades going down, I guess. Big, Max Scherzer, and we'll talk about some of the things we think should happen, maybe could happen. Of course, we'll talk Shohei Ohtani. Why wouldn't we? Everyone else is, and he deserves it. But tonight's show, as it always is brought to you by Archaic Design, Inc., kitchens, baths, and more. As I always say, everything, including the kitchen sink. Log on to archaicdesign.com. 321-956-2066. Russ and Christy are simply the best. All right, before we get started, let me bring in my co-host, the man that does these Sunday night shows with me. And today we had an opportunity to get together, and we went down to the combine that wasn't for us. Kind of a mix-up with the company that was supposed to order the shirts, but Global Sports, I tell you, they do a terrific job. But please help me welcome Anthony Nachreiner. Nach, to say that it's hot out would be an absolute understatement. I can't imagine what those kids were going through on that turf today.
I couldn't even imagine. 10 o'clock, it was boiling already. And I was going to say, we didn't go down there. We sweated down there. Because it was automatically, as soon as you hit the field and you hit the stands, you were sweating already. I hope you had water. I hope those kids had water. I mean, and practices start tomorrow.
Yeah.
For pretty much everybody across the board.
Yep.
And I saw practices are starting at like 3:30. It should be a little cooler and with cloud cover because that's usually the time the thunderstorms roll around anyway. Hopefully it'll be nice and cool for them so that way we don't have to worry about this heat. But and I was telling you this earlier. When it was my senior year in 2008, Todd Wilson ran two-a-days. Probably the last years you could run two-a-days because I know they don't run two-a-days here anymore.
No.
Two-a-days are a thing of the past, unfortunately.
I agree.
But we would do 8:30 practice in the morning, run till 10, and then we'd do like 4:30 practice and run till 6:30. So we would avoid that heat because I'll tell you what, even at 8:30 in the morning at this time, and that was August too because it feels like it's August, but yeah.
Yeah, happy
long
New
introduction.
Yeah, that's good. I dig it. Happy New Year, right? I mean,
right,
tomorrow fall sports gets underway. There are 6 fall sports. There's swimming and diving. There's bowling. There's golf. There's volleyball. There's football and bowling.
Cross country.
Bowling.
Cross country doesn't run in this fall.
Cross country. I said bowling. Right. Cross country. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But before, Knock, we get started tonight because, it's important to me to somebody very valuable to this community passed away recently back on the 17th of July. And she was extremely, extremely instrumental in bowling in this community, talking about a fall sport. And it sure is going to feel weird not having Charlene Harmon here for the bowling season this year. Charlene, after a little over a 2-year battle with cancer, passed away back on July the 17th. And I'll tell you, Charlene was, she was just one of the best. If you didn't get an opportunity to read the article about Charlene on Brevard Sports Network, please do so. And I certainly appreciate the many of you that left comments and told your stories of Charlene, because bowling wouldn't be a sport in this county if it wasn't for Charlene and a lot of Brevard County bowling proprietors. Back when they made the pitch, I think it was 13 years ago, they made the pitch for bowling to become a sport in this county, Anthony, and they went to the Brevard Public Schools and they got everything done, and then there was no money to fund the sport.
Right.
So what Charlene and a lot of owners and proprietors did was they funded the sport for 10 years, which is absolutely unheard of in sports. It's just unheard of for somebody to, maybe for a year, maybe for 2, but
right.
for 10, it's just unheard of. And they saw to it that, that they got the deal done. Just 47 years old, and she's got a great family. Her two sons that I've had the opportunity to meet, both outstanding bowlers. Michael Harmon Jr., who's at Indiana Tech. Her husband, Michael's fantastic. And Ian, who's at Edgewood. Tomorrow, if you don't know, tomorrow the services, let me make sure I get this right, 11 a.m. at the Grove Church in Titusville. Following services, the family is hosting a celebration of Charlene's life, and there's a lot to celebrate at River Lanes, which her family has owned and Charlene was the general manager of since 1986, and that'll take place following the celebration of life. She will dearly be missed, and our thoughts, prayers go out to the Harmon family. Now, with that said, I know Charlene would obviously be very excited about the fact that the fall sports start tomorrow, and bowling being one of them. We got a state runner-up, or we got a state champ, I should say. Let me get that right. A defending state champ on the girls' side of the equation in Space Coast in bowling. So we're excited about that. And they got themselves a new bowler coming in. And as we always do on here, Nach, we start with the local sports aspect of all of this. So let's go ahead and do that. By the way, another great job, Nach, on the coach's show last week at Walk On. So very, very exciting. But looking back at the page this week, rising Space Coast 7th grader Sophia Trujillo finished 4th overall at the 2023 U12 Junior Gold Bowling Championships in Indianapolis. And, well, she wasn't the only one that had a good trip out to Indianapolis. Merritt Island's Christian LaCory, he was named to the 2024 U18 U.S. Junior National Bowling Team. And both of those stories you'll see right here on Brevard Sports Network. So make sure you check them out. Sophia is going to be an incoming 8th grader, or 7th grader, I believe, 7th or 8th grader at Space Coast Junior Senior High School. And then we announced the partnership. Ted Kimmy now is the new athletic director at Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School. It's kind of funny because Coach Kimmy now goes back full circle. A great move by Principal Tim Powers to make that hire. Of course, Coach Kimmy started at Cocoa Beach. A lot of people probably don't know this. Started at Cocoa Beach as an assistant coach there. Moved over to Satellite where he was an assistant and an offensive coordinator when Mark Karstens was the head coach. And then Coach Karstens took the job, the athletic director job at Cocoa, and Coach Kimmy became the head football coach, and he did things at that school that no coach had ever done before. He went 36 and 16 over 5 years there, but he was a terrific coach. He's a terrific leader. He had a stellar career, graduated from West Point, had a stellar career following his graduation in the military. Coach Kimmy is a leader of men, and he'll be a leader of student athletes as well, men and women, to help groom our future men and women. So congratulations to Ted Kimmy on getting that job. We had a couple of commits this week as well. Justin Vallon gone to play at Shaw University from Cocoa High School. And then we had the Torres and Cruz. Vieira Hawks, Adriel Torres and Feno Cruz. They're going to be playing baseball at Indian Hills Community College in Iowa. They're outstanding baseball players. Feno dug a lot of balls out of the dirt for Vieira this year. Adriel threw a lot of those balls. Well, it makes Adriel sound like a bad shortstop, but he was a great shortstop. But terrific year, senior season for those two. And then also Jonathan Wolliver committed to the University of South Florida. And boy, let me tell you, I almost screwed Jonathan's post up. So real quick, I'll tell you the story. I did his entire post, did the graphics for all of it. And for some reason, I put UCF on his post. And I was mere seconds away from hitting the publish button on that. But something told me to look at his Twitter account. And when I did, I saw USF on there, right?
Yep.
And I thought, why is the kid putting USF on there? You know, being a pompous idiot, just assuming I'm right, and he committed to the wrong school, right?
Right.
You know,
So later, were you a nominee for Idiot of the Week?
I am an idiot for I am the idiot of the week. And congratulations. And now she did this some time ago, but we've just got back around to putting these commitments up. We got a couple of more commitments to put up this week as well, but I'll save those for next week. O'Galley Rising senior Sarah Langley commits to play softball for the Buccaneers of Barry University. And I'll tell you what, Sarah Langley's a popular student athlete. She had 46 comments, 8 shares, and 149 reactions to her post of committing to Barry University. So congratulations, Sarah. She's an outstanding catcher, and I'm excited to see her. Now, let's get to some of the other local stuff that happened. And one of those local things that happened was Skylar Wagoner getting ready to go off to Jacksonville University. She goes out with her premier girls fast pitch team, Rock Gold Minetta, and they go out to Irvine, California to play in the national championships. Well, if you know Skylar Wagoner, all she does is win. And her and Rock Gold 18U, they did just that out there as they captured the national championship. So congratulations to Skylar Wagoner and the rest of her teammates. Of course, Skylar getting set, knocked to head off to Jacksonville University, where she, along with 5 teammates from that Rock Gold team, are all going to be Dolphins together. But it was really cool yesterday. I didn't see it live, but I did watch it on demand. You can go back and watch it on demand on ESPN+. But how crazy is it? And I'm sure Skylar would tell you it's nothing like being on BSN. Okay? Mm-hmm. I know Skylar would tell you that she would much rather have these games broadcast on BSN. But be as it may, she'll settle for ESPN now.
Absolutely. As she should.
That's right. But we're going to try and get Skylar in here as you see her throw some heat there. Skylar lives on those corners, and it has been so effective for her, and she's just been amazing, of course. This year she goes out in style. She is our Brevard Sports Network 2023 Girls Softball Player of the Year. So here's the final out you're watching now on your screen. But congratulations to Skylar Wagoner and Rock Gold 18U Minetta on winning a national championship, because they ain't easy, Knock.
No, national championships don't come by easy, that's for sure. And like I said, great job by Skylar and all her teammates. Congratulations to them. I have no idea what that feeling's like, but, man, I really wish I knew what it was.
You know what, Knock? I don't know about you, bud, but I never won a championship. I won a Little League championship once. No, I didn't.
No. I won a district championship. That's the only thing I've ever won. District championship, that's the only thing. And I was hoping that my senior year of college, that my college team would win a conference championship, because you get conference championship rings, which are really cool at the college level.
Right.
You know, they didn't win that either. So I've never, outside of the district in 2007, I've never won a title.
Won a Thursday night beer league softball league once, and I'm going to tell you, I was blessed enough to. I was playing third base, blessed enough to throw the final out, and I celebrated like I was the 2022 Houston Astros brother. You better believe it. Certainly celebrated that night like it.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. I was going to say, I've lost some drinking competitions and I've lost some food competitions. I can say that.
Now, coming up, we're going to get together with Billy and all the guys. And, of course, coming up, it's back, right? I mean, I hope I got this the right way.
You do.
That's the Uberzati flag, and the reason I hold that up is because the Uberzati high school football pregame shows will be starting coming up this year on Thursday nights. We're excited about that. We're going to get the gang together the week before the season starts and put on one hell of a preview show, the likes of which this county has never seen. I'm excited. We promised the viewers tonight, though, that tomorrow all the camps open, as you said, as you alluded to.
Right.
3:30 and 4 o'clock. You were mentioning how, we're talking about how hot it was. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about us, right?
Make sure you drink plenty of water tomorrow.
Because that's right. Well, tomorrow we're going to be starting with the defending state champs, and then we'll be making our way down someplace else as we kick off camp season. And then Tuesday, I know we'll be over at MCC. We'll also kick off. We've got plenty of interviews this week. I've got West Melbourne Youth Football. I got the Melbourne Chargers. I've got the Vieira Youth Football. All this week coming up You'll see them all on Brevard Sports Network. So it's not just high school football starting; it's youth football as well. And we're going to get down to Bayside because and over to Satellite because we're going to be showing their games on Saturday mornings this year. So we're very, very excited. But we promised the viewers tonight that we would kind of go through.
Well, real quick, before we dive, I do want to give a quick shout out to my nephew Joshua. He is on the Space Coast Panthers.
That's a good organization.
They're a good team. So I want to give a shout out to him because I know they're getting ready. And I'll tell you what, some of these travel schedules for youth teams. Woo.
Well,
my sister's I think she's got to go to St. Pete for a game.
Mr. Bell the other night put out a video. God, he's going to kill me because I cannot remember I can't remember who this was that did this video, and it's killing me that I can't remember. But he did a 50-minute live video.
Okay.
Driving in his car.
Okay.
And don't do that. You had me scared the whole time he was doing the video. I'm like, I put a damn seatbelt on. Anyway, great video he did as he was talking about youth football in this county.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about, and here I am opening a can of worms we had no idea talking about, but I'm going to bring it up, that you got all these teams in all these different leagues all over this county, man.
I know.
And I've said it to Billy, Shatina, why can't they all just play?
Politics. I'm telling you, I have never seen more ego.
Though?
I've never seen more ego, and I'm sure Billy could probably say this too.
Oh, I know, but he refrains. Billy
I know, but
I'm
dead serious. So I have never seen such ego play out, and it's not just youth football. There's ego. You could look at the youth league, little leagues, and the baseballs and all the baseball teams across this county too. There's ego everywhere, and it's tough to overcome. Because I played in this youth league when it was Melbourne played West Melbourne. I got the team I was always on usually got beat up by West Melbourne. But we played Palm Bay, we played Port St. John, we played Titusville, we played I think even Bayside had a team at the time. I'm trying to think who else would have been in Rockledge. There was obviously a team in Rockledge as well. So, I remember those days. I don't know if they're ever going to come back, though.
Well, and thank you, Miss Lynn Malone, commenting on my Orioles jersey. I'll tell you what, you want to talk about an Oriole fan, Lynn. Here's the thing that, and I don't know what these politics are. I don't know
either, but I know that I've heard it before. I've heard it through many different channels.
Johnny Deere's who did it. John Deere. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, that's all I've heard. Is just I've heard rumors. I've heard through channels. It's just a lot of, egos and politics in between. Nobody wants to play. I know they're kids. And I'll say, like I said, sometimes I wish that coaches would spend a little bit more time teaching the fundamentals on some of these things. But, it is what it is. I'm not a coach out there. I'm not a volunteer out there. I can't really say a whole lot. But either way, I wish they would go back to it because it would make travel a lot easier. Because, these registration fees are a hell of a lot more money than what I used to pay.
You got enough talent in this county to where you could crown a champion to go whoop the rest of the state's ass.
Oh, you could.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. You could probably build a super team out here.
There's no doubt. Now, I don't think you could do one league, but I think
one league among the Brevard County teams?
Yeah, I think what you could probably do is two leagues. A north side of the county, a south side of the county, right?
Uh-huh.
And then have the north play the south at the end of the season for the county championship.
That's what we used to do. There was a Super Bowl. That's what it used to be, the Brevard County Super Bowl. West Melbourne, at least when I was playing, West Melbourne usually had multiple teams in it.
And I know it's always so much easier said than done because you're right. Egos and politics, man, have we seen more than ever in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years how that just gets in the way of anything that could be good, right?
And we're not talking about, Democrats and Republicans.
No, we're just talking about the basic necessities of people doing things because, well, we're people, right? That's the way it goes. Give one kid the belt and let's go,
right?
All right, so these football teams take to the field tomorrow, and obviously, I don't know anything about the 8-man teams yet. I'll learn about them this week, so we're not going to talk about the 8-man teams. But starting with our friend Cliff Nichols up at Space Coast, we're talking, kind of messaging with him today. Got Coach Trevor Schaefer, Hayden Hanks, Julius Brown, Christian Burt, Chris McDonald, some guys to keep your eyes on as camp starts. you know, I've said it before. I'll say it again, Knock. I think it's a great thing that Coach Nichols has taken that team and gone to the Sunshine State Athletic Conference.
Hey, it was fun talking to him.
It was. I think is what was needed to have happen for that program, and I think he's got that program on the right track back to where they want to come back to. Now, look, as he said, winning state championships and things like that, those are things you have to be realistic about. But winning is not.
No.
And I love when he made that comment.
Well, how many teams have we seen that for? Because I believe did
Satellite did the same thing.
Satellite did it. Cocoa Beach is still in it. There's just sometimes and given the landscape, because I think it's gotten even more wild west among high school football and the way things go and transfers and all that. And
yep.
I can only imagine how much more it's going to get wild when the NIL stuff starts. But I think this is perfect for rebuilding programs because, again, like I said, the way transfers are going, kids want to win. And if you can build a winning culture and if you go down to this, I think this is a great move. I love what Coach Clifton Nichols is doing, and I think he's going to I think they're going to get back on track.
I agree. Swinging down to Melbourne Central Catholic, who were doing the rebirth of MCC football. The obvious names, Day Farmer, the transfer from Cocoa, 12th grader committed to Pitt. But maybe some guys you don't know of. If you know football in this county, then you know 9th grader Tank White. Tank's got scholarship offers already from Boston College, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Penn State, UCF, USF, and Edward Waters. Then there's 11th grader Justin Woolard. Woolard is the triple or long jump champ in the state of Florida. I believe the 1A or 2A long jump champ. He's got offers from Pitt, Tennessee Tech, West Virginia, Edward Waters, Western Kentucky, and Marshall. Can't forget about 11th grader Noah Ostrander, big 6'2", 275 pounds, benching 325, which is unbelievable. And then the 9th grade quarterback transfer from South Florida, Joseph Allen. He's already got an offer from UCF. But they're going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. They got a lot of skill position players. If I had one concern or something I wanted to watch about MCC moving forward as camp opens tomorrow, it's on that line.
Yeah,
Can you protect these guys and give the quarterback time to find all of these terrific skill players?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And like I said, you got to have time to be able to get the football, and you got to be able to stop the run too. Especially on the defensive line, create pass rushers, create pass rushing lanes, all of those types of things. So that's going to be something to watch for MCC. I'm sure Coach Nate Hooks knows it too, so it'll be interesting to see what Camp Battles develops those guys at those positions.
Satellite, who will be doing all of their games this year, Tristan White, wide receiver, Atticus Henderson, an inside linebacker, Mitch Barton, a free safety, Darrell Wiley, right tackle and a nose guard, and quarterback Ethan Raphael. We heard Dylan Vigliotti, or their quarterback, I should say, from last year, was hurt. So we'll keep our eyes on Ethan Raphael. We'll be over at Satellite one day this week. But listen, Brian Helton at 3-3 stack moves that defense around. My concern for Satellite, I'm never concerned for their defense. My concern is the offense. Can Satellite score enough points to compete in a 5-team district that's got Rockledge and O'Galley? Because those are some good teams this year.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. But I really do like some of the things. And here's the thing. If you have a great defense, it will keep you in all ball games. You guys talked about it when we talked to Coach Helton at the coaches show, what that Rockledge game did for them. So, like I said, if they've got a great defense that's going to keep them in ball games, create some short fields, turnovers are really going to be a key for Satellite. But like I said, that's where you talk about these areas. That's where I think fans should really kind of pay attention to, because it's just like those are going to really tell you. Because if you know the defense is good, they're going to get it squared away.
My man Nick Donnie's going to kick my butt, but go ahead, because he's their OC this year, and I know he's going to be all over me with a text on this. What do you mean? How are we going to score points? Well, let me tell you, Alan. Nick's a good guy, but that's my concern. That's my legitimate concern. I think it's a concern.
Listen, good football teams have concerns. I mean, you could go around and you can poke, and there is no perfect team on this county.
No, there's not.
I'm just like you said, you can find a hole somewhere on each team, and there's going to be a level of concern. And whether or not they fill it, some teams will be able to, and that's going to lead to successful seasons. Other teams, you may find a hole that you didn't know about.
Right.
But like I said, this is fun. I think Satellite is going to be a good team. I think they are going to be a fun team to watch this year.
New first-year head coach Billy Miller likes to keep eyes on Brock Eden, Caden Brabham, quarterback, Eden, and linebacker, defensive end, Dean Mason, and an offensive defensive lineman, David Francis, running back, outside linebacker, Alex Reynolds, DB wide receiver, Gerard Durant, an offensive lineman. The Durant name, a familiar one at Bayside. Malik Cruz, a DB. And the thing that sticks out to me there is the thing that Billy told us at the coaches show was, you know what, a lot of my guys are going to play both ways. And that's how we're going to approach it from day one. And there you see, when you see Brock Eden, not Caden, he's quarterback, Dean Mason, David Francis, Alex Reynolds, all two-way guys, Knock.
Yeah, I was going to say, but again, they've got some talented guys across the level, offensive, defensive line. Brock Eden really stands out to me. I can't wait to see. I love watching those guys on the outside. You listen to outside linebacker, defensive end. I want to see, okay, what's in your repertoire as the pass rusher? What do you got? What kind of moves? What can you do to beat tackles? Because, there's some big tackles across this game.
Yes, indeed, there are. Holy Trinity, Brogan McNabb, the quarterback. And, I had his kicker in here, Marcus Trout, and he was raving all over him. And, of course, Coach Early Brown was raving all over him at the coaches show. Brogan McNabb, keep your eye on him. The offseason, we keep hearing offseason. You asked a lot of those questions. Brogan was a big part of the offseason. Jaden McMillan and Griffin Brunger, some of the other names to keep an eye on. Melbourne's got athletes for days. It looks like the starting five for the basketball team is also playing football, Knock, which is not a bad thing.
No.
Because Rob Apsey, who's the basketball coach there, I imagine we'll see him at a lot of football games. You got Deuce Ingram. You got Jordan Padala, who is that transfer quarterback in that I know that just a sophomore. Of course, you got James Hines, Landon Matt Malady, Ty Field, Johnny Wright, Keon Collins, Noah McNair, Wyatt Batava, Kevin Thorpe. A lot of young, talented athletes there for Melbourne. They're going to have to use them all. It's going to be a learning process. My biggest concern for Melbourne is how quick can they put it together offensively, like Satellite, because I think Coach Jeff Panucci, he'll have that defense in check. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
But offensively, where's the cohesiveness going to come from? Hines has got to lead a line, okay, up front. James Hines is going to be big time counted on up front. You can't get your sophomore quarterback beat up. We're going to talk about that when we talk about Coco. But, Melbourne's got their work cut out for them this year. But and here's where I respect Melbourne, in that they don't shy away from that. Coach Kintai didn't shy away from that. So we got our eyes on them.
I mean, Deuce Ingram, I'm really curious to see what kind of season he can put together. Again, if you got lockdown corners, that makes things a lot easier.
He's a lockdown. He's got speed, man.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then, Jordan Padala, I do want to see. As a sophomore quarterback coming up, he's got starter experience, so I'm very curious to see how he develops and how he plays. And listen, I love seeing linebackers on this list. Noah McNair, Wyatt Vitova. I believe that's how it was, right?
Yep.
Okay. Coach Panucci, I know, coaches linebackers. So those guys are going to be ready. They're going to be ready to rock and roll. And they just go on the list of great linebackers that have been at Mile High. So I love seeing those names there. At the same time, too, I'm very curious. Kevin Thorpe. Obviously the son of the great Tracy Thorpe.
Tracy Thorpe, that's right. That's right.
So, like I said, I'm very curious to see how they use Kevin and what he does. No pressure on him. I mean, his dad was a phenomenal football player in the early time for Melbourne.
Great baseball player, too.
Oh, yeah, and he was great at baseball.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So then you look at the Rockledge Raiders, and it's like, man, they are stacked, Knock. Brevard Sports Network preseason Defensive Player of the Year candidate, DJ McCormick. UCF, you got Damari Jenkins, App State, Jaquay McFadden, Terrell Spurrill, Jalen Hayward back there, who has opened his recruiting back up, was a Georgia commit. Jordan Woods, Izzy Montanez, Zane Humke, Amir Parker, Tayshawn Mallard, Dario Clark. Sounds like a who's who of all-star talent on defense, Knock.
Right. Well, I was going to say, that's just defense. We haven't even
talked about the offense yet, right?
And I'll tell you what. I mean, this is, like I said, Damari Jenkins and Terrell Spurrill, they're committed to App State, it looks like.
Right.
So, and I'll tell you what, App State's going to be a fun program. So I think they'll be going to a really good program in the next couple of years. So I'll tell you what, I know we're going to talk college football in a second.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, watch Sun Belt Conference football. That is going to be one of the best conferences.
Well, we're going to preview the rest of the conferences next week. Well, we're going to talk about what you did this week, too, when we get to college football.
But,
Offensively, though, for Rockledge, we talk a lot about Joe Tenta down at Heritage, right?
Yeah.
And what a year this has to be for Joe Tenta in stepping up. You kind of got to feel that same way for Traven Green at Rockledge, right? Mm-hmm. This is his senior season coming up. You know how talented and skilled he is. I can't wait to see Traven play because I know how good this kid is. I just know what he's capable of doing. We'll see if he has the opportunity to do that. And this Rockledge offense is, should be explosive. You got Buda James, Lorenzo Bell, Chase Vickers, Jalen Bradley, Channing Clayball, Jacob Schooley. This is a loaded football team, Knock.
Listen, when you talk about Rockledge, and that's why, again, I didn't quite have them there, but we were talking about our tiers last week. You had them there. In that state championship
I sure do.
Contender tier, I had them in deep playoff run just because, again, I want to see them get there and get to that point because, again, this is all – with Rockledge, and I'm not saying that they're going to, just run away with their district. But my point is that we know Rockledge is going to be a playoff team. That's not a question.
No.
The question is okay, how far is Rockledge going to go in these playoffs? And that's what they're building to, and that is ultimately the question I have for Rockledge. Because, like I said, you got two separate lists, one for offense, one for defense. What a luxury that is for Coach Wayne Younger and having all that talent. And so, like I said, they got playmakers all over the place. Should be a fun season for the Raiders.
Goodness, excuse me. Cocoa Beach this year. Listen, they had their best year last year, I think, since 2012, 2013, when Tony Piccolo was the head coach there. And you can really start to see Ben Waldrop's message and the way he wants that program to be come to fruition. And he's got guys like Giovanni Pena there, linebacker, running back, Logan Sylvia. I'm telling you, who's going to be an underrated quarterback in this county this year. Santi Chavez, great athlete, great running back. Aaron Garber, Brennan Burke, all of these guys, big participants in the offseason program. Very excited to see what Ben Waldrop and those Cocoa Beach Minutemen put on that football field this year.
Yeah, they're going to be fun. They did a lot of great things in 7-on-7. Saw that plenty on social media. Can't wait to see what they do when they put the pads on. And obviously we got 3-4 days for that before we see pads, right?
Yep. And, here's the thing. I talked to Coach Waldrop last year about the decision to go to the Sunshine State Athletic Conference, and it was amazing what he had to say in terms of why he did it. We carried on a 20-minute conversation just about that. But I'm excited for what that program has this year. And I know I didn't get you this over, but real quick, O'Galley, for me, we're talking about – for me, it's a matter of just who's going to be the quarterback there. I don't know. I'll have to get down there and find out who's battling the quarterback down there. But, look, when you talk about this team, they returned two of the top running backs in Brevard County last year that are running back there. O'Galley, if they get play out of the quarterback position, they can play two ways. They got receivers. They return, some really good receivers. They'll be young, but they're good. Up front, those lines are massive. Sandman Thompson this weekend. You know where he was?
Where?
Out at the University of Oregon all weekend, this past weekend. Out there taking in the sights and sounds of what it's like. He's going to be a Duck. He's committed. That's where he's going. So he was out there. His brother Redman Thompson. So I really think that O'Galley and then don't forget over on defense. I want to make sure. Brown. Brandon Brown. He's a beast up front on that defensive line. So I'm excited to see what O'Galley has. While I have Rockledge winning that district, I do think O'Galley's going to be right there with them, at least until the two teams go head-to-head.
Well, here's the thing. This is what separates the SEC from everybody else in college football. It's the lines. And when you have a guy like Brandon Brown in high school football, not every high school football team has a guy like him.
Nope.
So when you're talking about an impact player, a wrecker, to have one of those guys, you can really mess up your day when you're talking about trying to scheme and game plan, timing, all those types of things. So O'Galley, what they've got on the offensive and defensive lines is going to be really impressive. And like you said, we'll find out with the quarterback. But, man, having Brandon Brown on the defensive line, man, that's going to wreck teams.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to watch him play. And, of course, Chris Sands going into his 6th year, along with Ryan Schneider and Coco. And, of course, the defending state champs, 2S state champs. We talked about this ad nauseum, but, they get back a great defensive front seven. They get back Lauren Ward up front. They get back Samadre Hawkins, Davion Parham. Those 3 right there alone are amazing. And then you talk about that offensive line that they return. Plus, they got another transfer in. Okay, so they got 6 legitimate D1 guys that can play the offensive line. They got the question is the sophomore quarterback who's got D1 P5 offers. He's got an offer from Texas Tech or Texas A&M, one of those two. But how quick is he going to pick up this system? That schedule does him no favors out of the gate with Jones, Venice, and St. Thomas. Yeah. How quick is he going to learn? Can he bounce back from some of the hits he's going to take in those games? We'll find out. I have no question marks about their receiving core. None. Nicky Teeter, Javion Boggs. I know I'm leaving out 4 or 5 guys, but, they got a great wide receiver. C.J. Bragg, they got a great wide receiving core.
Yeah.
They bring back almost 1,200 yards in receptions in that Boggs is Ohio State commit. So I have no concerns there. For me on defense, it's the secondary and how quick is Hart gonna how's he gonna perform? That's the question mark everybody wants to know.
Well, I think we're going to get a really good idea of that because, again, Coco's going to be taking on Satellite. Satellite's a good defense. I think Coach Eldon's going to definitely challenge Hart defensively with a lot of different things. So I think that's a good test to give us an idea of how much can Hart take in and process and at the same time make decisions because he's going to have an offensive line. That offensive line is going to give him time.
Right.
So I think the thing for me is against those 3 teams when we get to the regular season, how decisive is he and how much can he limit any mistakes that he does make? He's a young quarterback. Mistakes happen.
Now, if we left your team off of here tonight, don't worry, don't fret. We want to get out and learn. I don't know a lot about Palm Bay. I don't know a lot about Astronauts. So – these are teams.
Titusville, we're going to learn a lot about.
Titusville, we're going to learn a lot. Well, I can tell you about Titusville right now. First of all, you need to know is John Holmes, our reigning BSN Coach of the Year. But, they returned Josiah Allen. And when we talk to Coach Holmes, right, he's going to lean a lot on Josiah Allen. They got the transfer in from Rockledge, who is our reigning Brevard Sports Network most valuable player offensively and defensively. What he did at Rockledge last year was amazing. So, Titusville, and then you get some of those youth football players that are coming up. That program is on as solid footing as it's been in over a decade. And it's no surprise that it's there. John Holmes does what John Holmes does.
Yeah.
He coaches, and he leaves everything else on the outside. It's all just chatter to him. Mm-hmm. He's going right in there, and he's going to coach. He's not even a head coach in youth football this year. So he's not juggling 2 head coaching jobs, right? He's still helping out, but he's not a head coach. So look out.
I give him a ton of props. I give him a ton of props for that because that's not easy to do, coaching a high school football team, then going to try and coach a youth football team at the same time. Man, that's a lot, but good for him. He does a great job.
And I think, like I said, although Coco and Titusville or Coco and Palm Bay can't play in the regional final, Coco's going to face Titusville or Palm Bay in that regional semifinal. I don't think there's any doubt. But Jamarion Stevens, I couldn't think of Jamarion's name, transfer from Rockledge. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We're going to see. Well, last year it was Coco and Palm Bay. This year, I love my guys, Mitchell Brown, Dan Burke, Mike DeGore. But I think this year, I'm leaning Titusville.
Yeah, I just say Titusville's a team that, and Coach Holmes talked about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be just a playoff team. They want to be a deep playoff team, and that's where it goes. So I like Titusville.
I love this answer. Coach, how far do you think this team can go in the playoffs? Regional final. Well, by God, if that's the case, you have put one on the Cocoa Tigers. And that is, boy, that would be something, wouldn't it? I tell you, that would stun the county for sure. We'll take a look at the rest of the teams next Sunday night. Also, we're going to preview volleyball next Sunday night. I've already recorded the Vieira interview. I had Sophia Jones I had Mallory Mers and Amelia Talbot in studio the other day. And, of course, they got Izzy Stark, the #1 volleyball player in the country that transferred in from Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And so they should be right back in the 6A mix again with New Smyrna Beach. You got Coach Bolton, and you got the great Angie Patrick. I mean, every year, Merritt Island's got to be considered a state championship contender.
I was about to say that the volleyball ranks have gotten really, really good. Obviously, you mentioned Vieira. I know Merritt Island because Merritt Island they've won a title.
2018.
Yeah, so I was going to say because I remember seeing stuff about that.
We'll get you reacquainted. We got Satellite coming in this week. We've got Merritt Island coming in this week. If you want to get your girls coming in, we also got Astronaut coming in this week with Diego Perez. He's got some returning players coming back as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun this year in fall sports, and we'll learn about bowling and golf and swimming and diving. And, of course, hopefully this year we can get back to doing the Cape Coast Conference Championships again, which we couldn't do last year. But that's behind us, and we'll get that done. So, all right, Nach, I think we've talked enough local sports for 3 shows. But I want to go to boxing, Nach.
You want to go to boxing? That's where you want to start?
I want to go to boxing because it really okay. And the reason obviously the big fight last night with Crawford.
Who won that fight, by the way?
Well, and see this is exactly going to make my point right here, right? So Errol Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford knocked Errol Spence Jr. down 3 times last night before the fight was stopped at 2:32 in the 9th round on a TKO. And, of course, Spence had an issue with it when they stopped it, but he was beat to hell. He had no business being it. But what Terrence Crawford has done, this was remember this. This is one of the most anticipated boxing matches in years, right? So what Terrence Crawford did was he became the undisputed champion, unifying the 147-pound division in the 4-belt era, which is just 4 belts.
Of course.
Which began back in 2004. Crawford's now 40-0, with 31 of those wins coming via knockout. He already had the WBO, and last night he took the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF titles from Spence, who fell to 28-1. And Crawford also ran his knockout streak to 11 matches, the second longest active stretch. Crawford's 35, and he's now won titles at super lightweight and lightweight, in addition to welterweight, capturing the latter after moving up in 2018. So I texted you today when we were talking about what we were going to discuss tonight in the show, and I said, I'm going to ask you to tell me who your favorite all-time boxers are. And what was your response?
I don't have one. I really don't, and not because I couldn't put one together, but I was never a big boxing fan. I was too early for Tyson.
For the record, how
33,
old were you?
33. Okay. Too early. Tyson was before me because I was just a kid when Tyson went on his run.
Right.
Everybody talks about Ali. I do know the legends before them. You know, the George Foremans. I'm trying to remember the guy that knocked out, or the guy that Muhammad Ali beat, who was the big Goliath at that time.
Frazier, Norton.
Right. All those guys. And so, like, I know the history of great boxers.
Right.
The last boxing match I probably would say I actually knew was probably Triple G and Canelo.
Okay.
I had a buddy of mine that was an avid boxing fan, and he would talk about Triple G and how dangerous Triple G was versus Canelo. And then, obviously, I was watching Tyson Fury and Wilder, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I caught the highlights on that one. But I don't know. And like I said, I don't know what – you said 4 belts. I thought there were only 2 belts. I didn't know there were 4 belts.
And this is the problem.
It's bad marketing by boxing.
Well, no, here it is. Boxing died back in the 90s. Late 90s, early 2000s. Boxing died. See, back in my day, right, now I'm a generation older than you. You're 33. I'm 53. So I'm exactly a generation older than you. So when I grew up, I got to see the greats of the sport. As big of a sports fan as you are, you would have never been able to grow up in my era and not know or have seen or have had a favorite boxer in guys like Tommy the Hitman Hearns, Roberto Duran, my favorite all-time boxer, Sugar Ray Leonard from Potomac, Maryland. You know, to me, Floyd Mayweather Jr., I don't, I've had this argument with guys. To me, the last really, truly great welterweight in that era, Floyd Mayweather was a fantastic technical boxer. He knew how not to get hit. Okay, he just did. But Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Robinson, even going way back before my time, those guys would have knocked his ass out. Cold. Manny Pacquiao. Now, I know Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought, but it was at the end of Pacquiao's career. Jose Napoles. I mean, those are the guys that my dad talked about. Emil Griffith, Barney Ross. My grandfather loved Barney Ross. So boxing had, and then every division had a fighter you wanted to follow. Right. You know?
But here's the thing, though. The reason, and I think this is why, and you alluded to it, why it died. You were probably not doing pay-per-view for these fights, were you right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, were you doing pay-per-view? Because my thought was like they still had it on cable television, so you could watch the big
We
fight.
would go, when I was a kid, we even did this for like WrestleMania 1 and 2, right?
Okay.
When I was a kid, we would go down to the Baltimore Arena, and they would set up a big television on the stage, and you would go to watch closed-circuit television. You'd pay $18 a ticket, and you'd watch it on TV inside of an arena. Now, when pay-per-view became a thing in about the late to mid-'80s, when Mike Tyson came along, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody had any issue whatsoever paying $50. And fights were $50, $60 back then, too. But it isn't pay-per-view it's the promoters, the Don Kings of the world, and not just Bob Arams of the world. Those are the guys that destroyed the sport. Keeping fans away from seeing the fights they deserved to see. There should be a rematch in this one.
I would agree.
I mean, no matter how bad Crawford beat him up, back in my day, there'd be a second or a third fight. But as we got further along, how long did it take Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao to finally get in a ring and fight?
Took years.
That's what destroyed boxing. And then you throw on the fact that you get this crazy-ass cage stuff coming in, right?
UFC. I grew up on and like I said, I don't even really watch UFC. I know there was a big fight last night and everything, but I grew up on the legends that are Randy Couture, Liddell. I grew up with Forrest Griffin when Ultimate Fighter was one of the best ones. I missed that on Spike TV.
I never made the switch to UFC. I still don't know if it's UFC or UCF. I don't know what, or UCF.
Yeah, it's
college,
UFC.
right?
It's UFC.
I never, because in my heart, in my soul, I'm a boxing guy. Sweet science. I still like horse racing. I watch the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont Stakes every year. Every year I watch it. So I'm always going to be a boxing fan. But you know what? 2 weeks ago, I didn't know anything about this fight.
No. And then, like you said, it's also a bad promotion because, like I said, nobody knows about it. And at the same time, too, I think you also have where, again, how many times are you talking about great matchups every single weekend in boxing? You're not. UFC, every single weekend or every other weekend, there's a great matchup on the card.
Gone or Friday night at the fights.
Right.
That stuff that promoted the sport. You used to be, you were something. Julio Cesar Chavez. To me, about the end of it came when Oscar De La Hoya, that group there, the De La Hoyas of the world, kind of retired. Sugar Shane Mosley. I love those guys, man. Those guys were, that to me that was boxing. But watching Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns fight, or Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran with the no moss, and
the names were better back then too.
Oh man, to me, Sugar Ray Leonard's my favorite boxer of all time, just because he's from Potomac, Maryland. Now I lost a lot of respect for Sugar Ray when, he got in trouble for domestic abuse, and he kind of shot away from that. I don't think he ever quite admitted up to that, and that kind of took a little bit away from me. But as far as the heavyweights, yeah, I watch Mike Tyson, but
well, the heavyweights don't feel like heavyweights anymore. Like
no,
Tyson,
they don't.
I think Tyson Fury was a little bit of a darling just because he kind of felt like a regular. And I think that's also part of it. Like UFC and boxing, I think, are guilty of this.
To me, I can't remember the two Russians, the brothers but to me, it was when Lennox Lewis held the title and his reign ended. And I can't remember the two Russian brothers. God, I don't know why their name.
The Russians got some boxers.
Yeah, no.
The only Russian I know is Triple G.
I can't remember his name, and somebody will put it in the comments, and that's bad on me not to know this because I should know it. But anyway, Klitschko or it could be. But anyway, that Lennox Lewis era there, as far as the heavyweights are concerned, Mike Tyson biting the ear off of Evander Holyfield, that kind of to me. I thought, listen, I think Mike Tyson I think Mike Tyson did the heavyweight division a lot of damage with his behavior. I think Mike Tyson, and I love him. I love how Tyson has.
He's definitely reinvigorated his image.
And turned himself around, okay? But he did this sport a lot of damage.
But did he, though? Because, here's my question. We just haven't seen heavyweights that you think of anymore, names. Like, how many times are we, like, again, last night the big fight was the welterweight. Floyd Mayweather, it's a big ticket name. Again, welterweight. When was the last time? Supposedly Wilder was supposed to be the next great heavyweight, but then Tyson Fury. Well,
you got Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. But Tyson.
Well, didn't Joshua take like a really bad loss too?
Maybe. I don't know.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure I remember Joshua getting ripped.
I remember watching Larry Holmes beat up Muhammad Ali and my dad getting upset because, it was ridiculous that Ali was even in the ring. Riddick Bowe, those guys, those are the heavyweights back in those days. To me, that's when, and it all came to a head about the same time. But I don't think it's any coincidence that the decline of Mike Tyson was also coincided with the decline of boxing. I don't think that's any coincidence. But
no, I agree with you there.
All right, my friend. Major League Baseball time, buddy. Because it's the trade deadline. Now, let's take a look at this week in baseball presented by, our new baseball partner, Club 321. You'll be seeing a lot of that this fall here on Brevard Sports Network. But as the standings come up, it is the Orioles, Twins, and the Texas Rangers by the skin of their teeth over the Houston Astros in the American League West. And then in the National League, man, it's the Atlanta Braves. I watched them play your Brewers a little bit this weekend.
The Brewers, you look at the series last weekend and the series this weekend, and I know the Braves got the sweep. There was like one or two runs. There's one or two runs every time between those two.
It is ridiculous how good the Braves are. They hit their 199th home run as a team today. No other team in Major League Baseball has 170 as a team. They're just that good. And then you got Cincinnati with a half-game lead at 58-49 over the Brewers. And then the Dodgers with a 2.5 game. I like seeing San Francisco up there. Arizona's kind of falling back there. The Padres, if they're not sellers, they sure need to be. But when you take a look at Major League Baseball standings, and then even we're going to start throwing the wild card in here. Right now, your top three wild cards are Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Houston. And then the Red Sox are 2.5 back. And then in the National League, your top three wild cards are San Francisco, Milwaukee, and Miami. So your Brewers, would be a playoff team. Regardless, the Phillies took a walk-off loss on the chin today. They're a half game back. But, you look at the hottest teams in baseball. Not everybody seems to be, the hot teams are about 7-3. There's nobody out there 8-2 at the moment. Nobody out there that's really like 2-8. I shouldn't say that. Diamondbacks are 2-8 in their last 10. and the St. Louis Cardinals are 3-7. And herein lies the issue, Knock, about what I want to talk about next as it pertains to Major League Baseball, and that's the trade deadline, and that's who should be buyers and who should be sellers. Obviously, we've already seen some deals get made, and I'll put those up on the screen. But the big deal this weekend has got to be the deal in which the Texas Rangers acquired right-handed pitcher Max Scherzer from the Mets for infielder Luis Angel Acuna. Now, Luis Angel Acuna was the top prospect in the Rangers organization. He goes to the Mets for Max Scherzer and $36 million, because the Mets are going to pay $36 million of Max Scherzer's salary of the $43.3 million owed.
I'm not entirely sure what the negotiations were, because I'm not feeling that. I mean, obviously good by the Mets to get a great prospect, but at the same time, like, you're still paying Scherzer to go pitch for somebody else that much money. Yeah. Like, it is the Texas Rangers. It's not like the Rangers don't have money.
And you look at the deals. I mean, like,
the White Sox are sellers.
Yeah, they sold their whole pitching staff, bro. I mean, that whole pitching staff's gone, right? I mean, they literally got rid of their entire pitching staff. Did they not? I mean, think about it.
I was going to say Lance Lynn was the first to go.
Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolotti's gone. Lottie's gone. So, yeah, as you look on your screen there, you see Scherzer going to Texas. Kendall Graveman goes from the Sox to the Astros, pitcher. Joe Kelly goes from the Sox to the Dodgers, right? So Lance Lynn from the Sox to the Dodgers. Then you got Dave Robertson, who goes to the Miami Marlins, and I think the Marlins are still going to. I like this move. I like your guys, the Brewers, getting Carlos Santana. He had a good weekend against the Braves. There's Lucas Giolito going to the Angels. Ronaldo Lopez from Chicago going to the Angels. Ahmad Rosario going to the Angels from the Guardians. So, yeah, the White Sox are definitely sellers. I certainly think the Cardinals and the Padres need to be as well, Knock.
Well, I think the question is what are the Cardinals willing to part ways with at this point? I mean, it sounds like Goldschmidt might be a name the Cardinals might be willing to trade. A lot of people want to have the Cardinals trade Nolan Arenado away. It doesn't sound like the Cardinals are going to make that move. So I think it might be Goldschmidt who might be the only guy that the Cardinals are willing to move off of.
I know they got rid of – who was it? The Rangers get Jordan Montgomery and right-hander Chris Stratton from the Cardinals for Thomas Sagis and Tekoa Roby and left-handed pitcher John King. So the Cardinals traded Jordan Hicks. You know, a lot of people are wondering, you know, what are teams like, you know, my Orioles going to do? The Reds going to do? I think the Diamondbacks, they're in an awkward position. 2-8 over their last 10, so they're going to have to figure something out, whether they're buyers or sellers. But if you're the San Diego Padres, Knock, here's where I'm at right now. The San Diego Padres probably have one of the best rosters on paper in baseball. I watched these guys hit. You know, I watched them play today. I watched them hit home runs. Manny Machado. It's not like a lot of these guys. They got Fernando. I mean, I know they're not going to trade Fernando Tatis, but I mean, you just look at that roster, and you could go the opposite direction. They could trade some of that to get some of these prospects back they gave up. And if I'm them, and you look at where they are, they're 52-54. They ain't catching the Dodgers.
No.
They may have a shot at a wild card, but
they're 5 games back on the wild card.
But that wasn't the goal for this. This was a World Series or bust team. That's how it was built. You got to part ways with some of this talent. You just have to, Knock.
Well, and I think the hottest name for the Padres to make a move would be Josh Hader, their closer. They're not going to need a closer for this type of season if they're going to sell. So Hader would be the guy that they would try to move, but he's a rental. So how much are you really going to get for Josh Hader? Unless you're trading him to maybe the Rangers or maybe I don't know if the Yankees need him. I can't remember who closes for the Yankees and if he's any good. But either way, every World Series team or playoff team is looking for a good closer. Hader would be the one guy.
The Cubs said today they're not trading Cody Bellinger, but what about Marcus Stroman?
Well, you got to know that they're going to trade him.
Right. So, and then the Brewers today stated that they weren't trading Corbin Burns.
No, I was going to say no. I don't imagine that they would. They're in contention. And here's the deal: if they did trade Corbin Burns, that locker room would have a full-on mutiny because of what they did last year when they traded Josh Hader away.
The Marlins, to continue to stay in this thing the way they are, they got to go get a bat. They need to get somebody like a Candelario from the Nats, or maybe Elias Diaz from the Rockies, or Tesar Hernandez from the Mariners. And that's the other thing, too. What's the Nationals and the Tigers going to do?
Are the Mariners going to be sellers because what is it?
I think so.
Esposito?
I think so.
They're I can't remember their starting pitcher that people are looking at, but there's that. And I'd also say this: the D-backs. I think the Diamondbacks are kind of in a situation that you had talked about with your Orioles before the All-Star break, and that was the fact that they were looking good then. We had them in our Elite Eight, but now they've fallen back. They're a young team. If they can trade a veteran away, I would, just to get maybe another young prospect in the system. But if I'm Arizona, I think I sell just because I'm not trying to chase the Giants and the Dodgers.
Where's Justin Verlander going to end up? To me, I think he ends up back in Houston.
You think what's Houston willing to give up for him?
I don't know.
Because again, didn't New York sign him to a big contract?
Yeah.
2 years, something like that?
Yeah. I mean, the Mets, well, obviously the Mets don't care because they're willing to, they paid $36 million a Max Scherzer's contract.
Well, how much more money are they going to spend for pitchers to pitch for somebody else?
I agree. Blake Snell, the Padres going to trade him. We talked about Stroman of the Cubs, Dylan Cease, the only remaining White Sox worthy left, right? Eduardo Rodriguez, he's a lefty. He could be a hot commodity. Mitch Keller from the Pirates, Jack Flaherty, we talked about him. Michael Lorenz from the Tigers as well. Jordan Montgomery from the Cardinals. Brady Singer from the Royals. So there's some pitchers out there as well. And if you're looking for relief help, Josh Hader, you mentioned, right? David Bednar from the Pirates as well. Scotty Barlow from the Royals. I mean, there's a theme here. Royals, Mets, Padres, right? I mean, you're hearing the same teams over and over again. So it's going to be an interesting Tuesday. The deadline is Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'd like to see my Orioles. I don't think the Orioles survive in this division lead. I think the Orioles are a wild card team if they don't go get a starter and some more help in the middle of the bullpen.
Do the Orioles make a move for Hader?
Yeah, I think they do. I think the Orioles almost feel like they have to. Today they sent back Wells back down to Double-A Bowie. He was the guy that started against the Yankees last night. And the Orioles, he was yanked after 3 1/3, giving up 5 runs. So they sent. Listen, he'll be okay, but yeah, I think the Orioles pitching isn't good enough to win this division. And if it ain't good enough to win the division,
starter though, do you go get Singer? Do you go get one of those guys that's maybe not as a high name trade chip, so that way you're not giving up because you guys still have a great farm system, and I wouldn't give it up because look what the Dodgers somehow, some way continue to have a top 10 farm system every single year. And you want that to have continued success. I
agree. We still have 4 of the top 100 prospects that have not made their MLB debut. So the Orioles have some things to play with. And don't forget they got guys like Mateo and Mullins and I hate to say it, but Anthony Santander who hit the walk-off Friday night. The Orioles have players that they could get rid of, and Mike Elias wouldn't blink an eye at losing them. I mean, that's a shame to say, but, and if you're in the market for a position fielder like, Lane Thomas of the Nationals, right? I mean, I know the Nats aren't shopping him, but my goodness, if you're a team out there, this guy's 27 years old, outstanding player. Jonathan India, the second baseman of the Reds. Would you try to get Jonathan India in a deal? We talked Tim Anderson of the White Sox. Dylan Carlson of the Cardinals, as well as another Cardinal, Javier Candelario, the third baseman from the Nationals. So there are some good. Elias Diaz, a catcher from the Rockies. I know the Rockies drafted a catcher in the 3rd round this year. Brent Rooker. I mean, there's a lot we can see happen on Tuesday. There's a lot of good names available in the MLB market. But I really think, the Orioles, Marlins, Rays, Astros. I don't think the Diamondbacks are there anymore. We'll see. I think they all need a little bit of pitching. The Rays can't stay healthy at the position. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes up.
Yeah, I was about to say this. I mean, it is interesting to see how the Rays are kind of coming apart at the seams in pitching. I do want to ask you this, though, because we had talked about the Rays, again, and going back to the All-Star break, injuries were playing a factor. For the Braves, they're playing great baseball, but we haven't really seen the slump from the Braves yet. So I'm kind of
We're
curious.
not going to.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think we're going to see it?
Listen, man. Cheryl Abdelis, God love her. Good, glad she's watching. Love her to death. Says the Braves sure can hit, but the pitching is sketchy. I don't know that I agree with that. You're going to go get a win just about every 5 days. I mean, look today. They couldn't pitch a lick today, right? They couldn't get anybody out today against Milwaukee, right? Every time you looked up, Milwaukee was taking a 1-run lead, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
No, they still found a way to get 2 runs across.
I mean, because they just kept hitting home runs and knocking the ball out of the park. Spencer Strider, he just strikes everybody out. He doesn't even give anybody a chance to hit the ball. I think he's got more strikeouts under the age of 25. I think only Walter Johnson and Vida Blue. Here it is. With 10 strikeouts, Spencer Strider increased his season total the other night to 199. Spencer Strider has as many strikeouts as the Braves have home runs. Think about that. That's the third most by a player under the age of 25 before August since the mound was moved to its current distance in 1893. He trails only Vida Blue and Walter Johnson.
Wow.
So they can go get a win every 5th day with Spencer Strider, okay? Bullpen help probably wouldn't hurt them.
I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe if they make a move for Hader, or again go for one of those not as high named relievers, that would be interesting. The Braves are going to be fine. I'm just wondering though, because I figured they'd hit a slump. You don't want to run into the playoffs and all of a sudden
Here's the other thing about Strider. If I'm the Braves, I wonder about a little bit. He's a machine. 200 in his last start, Strider reached 250 career innings pitched, 390 strikeouts. It's tied with Billy Wagner for the 6th most in MLB history. Threw a complete game, I think, even the other night, which Major League Baseball, for some reason, now headlines. It used to happen 200 times a year. Now they put up a special Facebook post because if a pitcher goes 9 innings. But I just don't think there's anybody else in baseball that is a complete package like the Atlanta Braves.
No,
Are they flawed? Sure, but their flaws are certainly far less than.
They can be covered up.
Who's the best team in the American League? Well, right now it looks like the Orioles, right?
Right.
You go out. I still think the Houston Astros are going to be heard from. I still think that's the team that it's going to be the Astros and somebody else in the ALCS.
Do you believe in the Rangers?
Huh?
Do you believe in the Rangers?
Well, now that they get Max Scherzer, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you this much: it's been a long time since I knew this much about baseball on July 30th.
Why do you think I wore the Brewers jersey? Why do you think I wore the Bucks jersey?
Yeah.
But real quick too, because obviously we didn't talk about what we've been highlighting with our trade talks is Shohei Ohtani. Because the Angels closed that door.
Yeah, they said no. The Angels have been outstanding since the All-Star break. I think the first or second best record in baseball. Now, Shohei Ohtani, and I want to talk about Ohtani because he's worthy to talk about, Nach. The other day this guy goes out and he throws a one-hit shutout in the front end of a doubleheader. As if that's not exhausting enough, right? He goes out and hits 2 home runs in the back end of it. I guess my question is, and I heard this today, obviously, if the Angels aren't trading him, they're going to try to re-sign this guy, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. My thought would be that
How
they
do you
would
do this.
I don't think it's that hard to sell. Shohei knows Los Angeles. He knows the Angels. Again, Los Angeles is a quick hub to Japan, so it's not like he can't just go home
That's
if he
true.
wants to. Because again, he's not coming east.
No.
He's going to stay out west. So it's either he plays for the Angels, plays for the Padres, plays for the Dodgers, plays for the Mariners, plays for the Giants, or now the A's are leaving, so never mind. So it's either one of those two teams that's on the West Coast, and it's got to be an easy hub to get to Japan. The only other team that maybe makes sense would be the Mariners, just because it's Seattle. So I think being close to home plays a factor for Shohei, and I think the Angels are. I think they confirmed, hey, listen, we will make you a serious offer. Will you take us seriously in the offseason?
Here's what I think. Here's how I think that Shohei Ohtani needs to be dealt with. I think you offer this guy 2 contracts.
Yep. 2 contracts.
I think you do. I think you do. I think you can give him 1 contract, but I think you need to outline it. I think it needs to be a part A and a part B to it. I think if you're going to because my concern is there's no human being in 2023 at the top of the game the way he is.
No.
Do this for 5. There's no way Ohtani can do this for 5 more. There's just not. I mean, he's a human being, right?
What do you think he gives up first?
Oh, it's pitching.
Pitching?
Oh, it's pitching he gives up first. But I think if I'm the Angels, I take this approach where I say, okay, your contract's going to be based off of pitching. Let's say we're going to pay you $550 million. $245 million of it, or $200 million of it will be based on pitching. The other $350 will be based on hitting. Now, when you're done pitching, and you can be done when you say you're done, then that part of the contract goes away, and this is what you get paid. I think that's the smart way to do this.
That's not. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, that's still a lot of money for Shohei, and he would be the highest paid player, I would imagine, at that point. So, I mean, listen, I think the Angels do everything they can. There's 2 contracts, 3 contracts, whatever it takes to get him re-signed.
Saw the stat the other day. Babe Ruth with 159 home runs in his first 674 career games, right? Babe Ruth was a pitcher at that time as well. He was 35-18 in his first 455 career innings pitched. Shohei Ohtani, over that same stretch, has 1 more home run, 160, and he's 35-19 in 455 career innings pitched. So he has 1 more home run and 1 more loss than Ruth in the same amount of time. That's
impressive.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, Shohei's
incredible.
if Shohei continues on the stretch that he's on right now, he is going to go down as one of the greatest players of this era. He will be on the Mount Rushmore. When you think about the 2000s or the 20s, because his career is going to extend into the 20s, that's who you're going to think of. And I don't have any problem putting him right there in terms of if he continues and if he dominates pitching. Say if what if he gets to 150 wins as a pitcher, or even 200,
right?
On top of what he's doing batting wise, you have to put him on Mount Rushmore of baseball.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's there now. I want to say hello to Scott Morgan. Happy birthday, buddy, to Scott Morgan, Daryl Duran, Mark Malkin, Ben Locke. How about them O's? 9-3, bottom of the 6th. Mark Malkin says, "What happened to the Pittsburgh Pirates?" Well, they're the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They fell apart.
That's my only answer
started.
to that, right? Cyril, Brave Sure can hit, pitching is sketchy. Damian Minko and Ryan Schneider, all watching here tonight on Brevard Sports Network. Coach, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, your Elite 8. Knock, who are your Elite 8?
My Elite 8. Number 1 team stays pretty much the same. No real changes there. That's going to be the Atlanta Braves. Number 2, Baltimore Orioles. Then 3, the Texas Rangers. 4, the Dodgers. I'm going to keep the Rays in there at 5, but they are sliding fast out of my Elite 8. 6 Astros, 7 Blue Jays, and I'm going to throw the Brewers in at 8.
I'm going to go with the Braves. I'm going to go with the Orioles. Then I'm going to go to the Dodgers. Then I'm going to go to the Astros. Then I'm going to go to the Rangers. Then the Rays. That's where I'm going to go.
Okay.
I know. Well, actually, I'm going to put Houston ahead of, or Tampa ahead of Houston. I'm sorry, because Tampa had a good series, other than last night when Tampa gave up 17 runs. But and then I'm going to throw the Giants in there too as my 8th team. I like what the Giants are doing. They're they're 4-6 in their last 10, but they're moving on up. You look at you look at the Rays, you look at the Dodgers, and you look at the Rangers, right? All 3 of those teams in their last 10 are 4-6, 4-6, and 3-7. So not the time of the year to be playing 300 or 400 baseball.
No, not at all. So, well, I mean, it's tough, but we'll see what happens. We got a lot of baseball left.
That's Major League Baseball. Knock. Right before we move on to football, I want to discuss Lionel Messi.
All right, you're the only one, but go ahead.
No, he's on the screen, and Friday night he scored 2 goals for Miami, and he has now scored 3 goals in 55 minutes. And I've got an interesting statistic to read you about that. And by the way, USA women's soccer tied in their last match. They play at 3 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning.
They still sit on the top of their group?
Yeah, they're not playing well, though. They're not. I watched some of that 1-1 tie, replay of that 1-1 tie. They're not playing well. But Lionel Messi has scored 3 goals in his first 55 minutes in MLS action. And I think the stat I read was it took him something like 500 or 600 plus minutes to score 3 goals in European action and 700 plus minutes to score 3 goals in some other action. But he gets 3 in his first 55 minutes in MLS. Listen, we said he would be good for this league, and he is good for this league. All of a sudden, this team that was the worst in the league looks like one of the best, and good for the people down in Miami is all I can say, because I don't know a whole hell of a lot about the MLS, but Lionel Messi's got me talking about him, so must mean something.
Well, again, one of the greatest international players. He's fun to watch, and like I said, he's doing a lot of great things, obviously, for Miami and obviously for the MLS, and it's great to see. Again, fun league. Like I said, I've gone to Orlando City games. I've been there with TJ, and they're fun.
TJ's a fan, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I give soccer credit. In terms of, like, fan interaction and fan fun,
Right.
soccer games are fun for fans.
Yeah.
So I give TJ a lot of credit. It was a
The
lot of fun with
wild
him.
section, right?
Right. So, like I said, it's fun. Always enjoy it, but we'll have to see if it keeps going.
I went when Orlando first started, when they built that new stadium, as a member of the media. And I was in the press box, and they had all these wires. They hadn't even finished it yet. They had all these wires hanging down, but the spread was out of this world. Food was amazing.
I missed that. Honestly, one of these days we should come up with a ranking of spreads. I'm surprised nobody in the media has actually done that.
Done what?
Like a full ranking of the media or the food spread at different press boxes, whether it's the NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball. Like, I did get to go to the Brewers press box one time, and they got an ice cream bar. I had a blast in the ice cream bar before our first pitch.
The other thing Lionel Messi is doing is he's definitely making Inter Miami some money. $440 is the average price for a ticket. That's the average price, buddy.
Wow. Yeah. That's a tough ticket right now.
Yeah, man. All right, buddy. So we've talked Messi. We've talked boxing. All kind of great stuff we've talked tonight. Baseball, trade deadline. I thought we did pretty good there. Where do you want to go? You want to go to the NFL or the Big Ten?
Well, let's go Big Ten.
All right.
I like college football.
All right, Nach. Is it simply going to be Wisconsin and Michigan in the West? And by the way, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow here on Brevard Sports Network at 11 a.m. No, not tomorrow. Tuesday at 11 a.m. I am taping an interview.
That's right.
With the great Phil Steele.
And we have his magazine, or at least I have his magazine here.
In case you think that we don't, go ahead and hold yours up.
Yep.
Yeah. So we got them. We both got the regionalized cover. Yep. So,
yep.
I got everybody's questions, so we'll be asking them. So let's open to the Big Ten, and Phil seems to think it's going to be Michigan and Wisconsin in the West and in the East. Nach, how do you see the Big Ten in 2023?
I don't think it's really. What's more interesting to me is how the rest fills out. In terms of the fact, I think Michigan's going to be really good. I think Wisconsin's going to be really good, but simply just because Wisconsin has Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, and then who after that is really going to make a contention in the Big Ten title. I think Wisconsin's still the best team out west. I think what's interesting for me, and Phil Steele's got your Terps there at number 4.
He does. I like that.
And Maryland's going to be interesting. I think Michigan State's actually going to be further back. I think Michigan State's going to be. I don't know if they'll be behind Indiana, but I think Rutgers might jump them in those standings. So I think the more interesting race is really 3, 4, and 5 within there because we know Michigan and Ohio State are the top teams. again, when you look at the Big Ten, it's no different than when you look at the ACC to a degree. It's Michigan, Ohio State, and everybody else, and there's a gap between them. And with the ACC, it's Clemson. I'm not ready to put Florida State there just yet because I want to see sustained success from the Seminoles. But it's Clemson and then everybody else in the ACC. That's the thing for me. I think there's some more interesting races within the Big Ten behind Michigan and Ohio State because we know how that's going to go. It's going to come down to the game at the end of the year, and I can't even remember.
Always does, right?
Where is that game? That's at the Big House this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Last year, nothing will ever compare to 2006, that 42-39 game. Jimmy Tressel, Lloyd Carr. Now I'm just being.
No,
stupid.
that was a fun game.
Yeah,
I remember that one. That was a good one.
I'm just being stupid now. But listen, this is a football team. Talking about Michigan, obviously, Jim Harbaugh is now 4 games. Is it?
Yeah, suspended for 4.
Yeah, so I don't think it matters how long he sits out for.
Let's look at the schedule. He's got East Carolina. He's got UNLV, Bowling Green, and then Rutgers.
Okay, so I've got their schedule on the screen. The first 4, yeah. I mean, then he comes back against Nebraska. I think East Carolina is better than them, right?
I like East Carolina. East Carolina, and just because it's the first week of the season, I mean, look at Ohio State. I think struggled with Tulsa to a degree last year.
How bad is that schedule? They don't really have a tough test until they take on Michigan State. I mean, Indiana. Minnesota.
I wouldn't even put Michigan State on there. I mean,
Purdue,
Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State. That's
I mean, I'm sorry,
but that's their toughest stretch.
Yeah.
Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State. That is the toughest stretch for Michigan. That is the tough stretch for Michigan on that schedule. There's nothing else there.
That's not to say that Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. But look, 2 things about Ohio State. They got receivers for days there. They always do, right? But who's going to be the quarterback? I mean, who's going to be the quarterback there? Ryan Day would not commit to Kyle McCord as his quarterback at I almost said SEC, at Big Ten Media. He wouldn't commit to him. But we'll see. I mean, Devin Brown's putting up a good challenge. I think they're reloading a little bit on offense, but I still think they have 2 of the best wide receivers in the conference. Obviously, I think Penn State is 3rd, the Nittany Lions. Drew Aller, I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's a rising star in this conference. I think he's going to elevate Penn State's passing game.
I don't know. I don't believe in it. I mean, James Franklin has gotten Penn State. I mean, they've had their year. I believe it was their year when they went to. They've been to the Rose Bowl, right? It was the traditional Big Ten versus Pac-12 champion, I believe, right?
Yeah, Yeah.
I just don't know, but I'm not a big believer in Penn State and James Franklin. They're good. Like the Nittany Lions are good. They're just not on the level with Day or Harbaugh.
They got a Kent State transfer in by the guy by the name of Dante Cephas. That's supposed to be a really good wide receiver. We'll see. They lose cornerback Joey Porter Jr., and they lose Jair Brown as well back there on that defense. So that's going to hurt them in the back end of that defense. But they have Abdul Carter and Adisa Isaac and Chop Robinson at the top of the best players list for Manny Diaz. Weird to say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, and also, too, I know we're talking about Penn State, but I really want to go back to Ohio State for just a second because you look at their schedule. The Buckeyes, they open with Indiana, Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, and I'll tell you this much. Western Kentucky's got Austin Reed, leading passer from last year, Davey O'Brien finalist. Western Kentucky's got plenty of offense, so Ohio State's defense better be ready for a lot of airtime.
Well, I think Ohio State's defense this year is going to have to carry the unit because the offensive line was a big question mark coming out of the spring. It was. And he hasn't settled on a quarterback yet. So I think this defense under second-year coordinator Jimmy Knowles is going to have to be the unit that carries his team early on.
Yeah, and Western Kentucky's going to challenge him. Again, yeah. I really like Austin Reed. I don't know if the offensive line for Western Kentucky can hold up 4 quarters against Ohio State. I'm not picking Western Kentucky to give him an L, but I think that's going to be a tougher game than a lot of people think so right now. Then you got at Notre Dame, and then you get into they got Maryland to open conference play, Penn State the 21st, they're at Wisconsin the 28th, and then Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota, and then they got Michigan on the back end. That's a tough schedule.
Best quarterback in the conference is at Maryland.
We'll see. We'll see.
Tagovailoa.
I mean, and you're not technically wrong.
Tua's brother. And then I got Michigan State, Rutgers, Indiana, rounding out that. In the West, Wisconsin, Iowa, 1-2 is how I have it. I mean,
we'll see what Luke Fickell does in year one.
I like Luke Fickell. I think he'll be all right. They should have one of the best. I think they're going to have one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. I think it'll be right there behind Michigan. I do.
I don't know because it's not Jim Leonard anymore.
Well, they get 8 returning starters back.
Right.
Go ahead.
But that DC, Jim Leonard, remember, he was the one running that Badgers. He's no longer there. He's now at Illinois. So that's a big question mark for me. I think that's a big loss for Wisconsin, losing Jim Leonard as their defensive coordinator. I don't know why he didn't stay on. Maybe he didn't want to coach or whatever, but that's a big loss. I don't know if the Badgers' defense is going to be quite the same.
See, with that air raid attack or whatever form of it they're able to run, the Badgers do get both Iowa and Ohio State at home, and they miss Michigan and Penn State in crossover play this year. So I think the schedule bodes well for them in that aspect. And it wouldn't surprise me if Wisconsin, at what point of the year do they play Ohio State?
They got Ohio State, I believe it's October 28th. Yeah, October 28th, late in October.
Iowa, look, if they're going to go back to the Big Ten championship game, they got to improve. They're averaging only 17.7 points a contest last year. Brian Ferentz, well,
it's the same story.
Yeah.
It's the same story.
Every year.
They're good. They play great defense. They run the football. They get just enough out of their pass
They
game.
do get a good transfer Michigan quarterback, Cade McNamara, though. So
do they?
I don't know.
Maybe he's a little more mobile.
They got a good running back in Caleb Johnson, the star to watch there at that position. I think it's the same thing. Oh, Kirk. Yeah, it's Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk Ferentz.
Kirk Francis' brother. Those are the guys that run the team.
Yep.
So, but I do have Iowa second. The Golden Gophers, they lose Mohammed Ibrahim at the running back position. They got a good quarterback, I think, in Anthony Nachreiner, I believe is how you say his last name. They got a great group of receivers. If any team in this conference surprises this year, in other words, if we see a surprise contender in the Big Ten championship game against Michigan, to me it would be Minnesota.
That's not bad. I wouldn't disagree with you. I am kind of curious to see what Illinois brings, 18 guys back. I mean, Illinois was pretty good last year, especially defensively. They did lose a lot of NFL talent on that defense.
They lose Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. So, and Devin Witherspoon, obviously, the draft. So,
and Chase Brown, their running back. Go ahead.
And Sidney Brown, the safety.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would say this, though. If there was a dark horse team, I'm picking your Terps.
I like my Terps. I just didn't want to say that.
And believe me, I'm not blowing smoke for you.
I like my Terps.
I like your Terps.
I like what they did at the end of the year last year. I like how, I like Tagovailoa.
Defensively, they just got to shape up. Like, you get some more turnovers, get some more stops.
Well, they lost some key guys in that secondary too. I mean, they lose Jacorian Bennett, Deontay Banks. So that's going to be tough. Brian Williams, the coordinator. They allowed 5 yards of play last season. That's down from almost 6 the year before. So, I mean, defensively, they're going to have to be better. But I like Mike Loxley. I think he's done a fine job at College Park. And, I would put him higher than 4. I may put him over Penn State, to be honest with you.
I think the only thing that Maryland has to do is they've got to show that they got to be able to beat a team like Penn State.
Right.
If they can beat Penn State or beat one of the upper echelon teams in the Big Ten, I think you got to take them seriously.
I do like your Illinois pick. I think the biggest storyline for me this year in the Big Ten is the arrival of Matt Rule in Nebraska.
Yeah, no, that would be another one.
Because obviously the wonder boy of the program couldn't turn it around. I don't know if anybody can. Well,
to be fair to Scott Frost. Yeah. No, that's it. I mean, listen, Nebraska, it's tough. The Cornhuskers have a lot of tradition. They absolutely do. But again, that tradition was in the 90s, and that was in the 80s. And college football is a much different game right now. than what it was for
Yeah,
Nebraska.
but he did a good job rebuilding UCF from a 0-10 team.
But he had UCF. He was in Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, unfortunately, that's the other thing, too. Like, there's so much more now to recruiting. It's not just about being a legacy program. Okay, what are the facilities like? What's your record like? I mean, Nebraska, what are the facilities like? What's there to do? All those types of things become a factor because are you able to attract top talent from this state, from Texas, from California, and other places that have top-tier talent? Nebraska just hasn't been able to do that, or the talent that they have attracted hasn't panned out.
The big football news this week, of course, college football. So who you got in the Big Ten title game?
I'm going Michigan, Wisconsin.
I'll go Michigan, and you know what? I'm going to stand behind
Minnesota?
I'll take Minnesota.
Go with PJ Fleck, huh?
Yeah,
You're going to go row the boat,
I'll
huh?
go with Minnesota.
I'll go row the
Minnesota, and yeah, why not? I'll go Minnesota. Michigan's going to win it this year. I mean, they got everything coming back. I mean,
you think J.J. McCarthy's the
yeah,
quarterback?
man,
All right, fair enough.
They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. It's Michigan and everybody else to me. Now, Jim Harbaugh has been known to trip over his,
Yeah, well, yeah,
So-
no, it's like I said, that there's nothing guaranteed in this Big Ten. But like I said, right now I would be hard pressed to find a better team than Michigan.
But the other big college football news this week: Colorado, Nach leaving the Pac-12. They're going to return to the Big 12, where they belong, in 2024. Obviously, somebody else has got to go. Who's it going to be next?
Well, the question I have here is I think here's the deal. You still in the Pac-12, you still have Oregon, you still have Washington, and I'm trying to think who's the other third power that's really good there still in the Pac-12. There's at least three still that are strong. Why can't I think of them? Washington,
Arizona.
No, not Arizona. Because we talk about it. The Arizona State.
So USC and UCLA are gone, right?
They're going to be in the Big Ten.
Right. So they're gone. Colorado's gone, right?
Yep.
So what's left?
Utah. Utah's the other good team.
So they were a top 5 team to start the year last year. So you look at the Pac-12, and now you're losing Colorado, USC, and UCLA. Colorado's not a big loss until Deion actually turns that program around. But obviously another team's going to go with them. Who's it going to be?
Well, think
it's Utah?
No, I think Utah is good with running the Pac-12 for right now. I think if there's going to be another team that the problem is those Western teams, there's not another conference to join. There's not like the SEC, the ACC, or the Big Ten where it's all like one half of the country. There's the Mountain West, and then there's the Pac-12. That's it.
Now, they talked about when Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12, they talked about that would be the end of that conference. But to their credit, they went out and got UCF and Cincinnati. Now, it ain't Oklahoma and it ain't Texas, and you're still losing the Longhorn Network and Boomer Sooner and all that in terms of dollars go. But it quashed any talk of the Big 10 or the Big 12 conference faltering, which many people thought it would. I don't think the Pac-12 goes away. I think there are plenty of teams. The Big Ten, listen, with USC and UCLA, the Big Ten's a coast-to-coast conference now. You got Maryland and USC. Go figure.
The thing is, it makes no sense. USC or UCLA play the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl, but granted, the Rose Bowl doesn't matter anymore. Here's the thing that's going to be interesting. The Mountain West, and I know a lot of people probably don't watch a lot of the Mountain West.
It's good football, though.
It is good football. Fresno State's good. Boise State's been a contender. Boise State's looking for that invitation. Pac-12 is going to be smart. They got to go after Boise State with that brand. So Boise State's a good team. I don't think Wyoming's going to get the invite, even though they've been a decent football team as of late. But Fresno State's there.
Air Force.
I don't know if Air Force gets that invite.
So Boise State, Air Force. What about UNLV?
UNLV's been you can't.
Wyoming, you don't think?
Wyoming's a good program, but they're not. You're not getting a market. That's the thing. That's one of the reasons why, at least in the Pac-12, in my eyes, the reason why Colorado's a loss because you're losing the Denver market.
So if you took a team out of there, obviously it would be Boise State, right?
Yeah, Boise State would be my first one. Trying to remember who else is in the Mountain West off the top
Air
of my head.
Force, the Rams, Fresno State, Hawaii,
They're not,
Nevada, the Lobos, San Diego State could be
San
a
Diego
thought.
State, that was
Yeah.
the one because we talked about that one. San Diego State, Boise State would be the teams.
San Diego
Fresno.
State's a good Pac-12 team.
Yeah, I think Fresno. I think if I'm the Pac-12, my calls are San Diego State because they've already shown interest.
Right,
Boise State,
right.
and Fresno State.
And Fresno State. Yeah,
Those would be my.
sense.
And
you need Stanford to get good again.
Exactly. Well, and that's the only problem. I don't know if Stanford can.
Right.
Cal hasn't been very good, and I don't know
No.
if anybody can really turn Cal around. But I'll tell you this much, though. Something that I came across, and you'll get a kick out of this. Think about this for a second, Alan. Conference USA, absolutely been just gutted over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Fun conference. Imagine if these teams would have stayed in Conference USA. And Conference USA started in 1995.
Okay.
Remember that. So one of the interesting things, obviously, UCF started in Conference USA. Cincinnati started in Conference USA. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I had a full list because, like I said, this would be a Power 5 conference if Conference USA was able to hold these teams. So think about this for a second. They had Cincinnati, Houston, Louisville, TCU, UCF. They also had East Carolina, Marshall, Memphis, Tulane, and UTSA. UTSA was Conference USA champ 2 times in the last couple of years. You had Tulane, who's the American Conference champ last year. Mm-hmm. UCF's won a number of conference titles. Louisville's now in the ACC. Houston and Cincinnati are in the Big 12. I mean, Conference USA, if you had all those teams in there right now, would be a Power 5 conference. That's better than the Pac-12. So, and here's the other thing, too. The Big 12's thinking about adding Colorado and possibly 2 more teams. Memphis was on the short list to possibly go. And that would renew that rivalry with UCF. I would not be shocked if Memphis is a team that's maybe going, if we get another wave, Memphis would be a team to watch to go to the Big 12.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well done, Doc.
I mean, I'll say this. I've been covering a lot of G5 football lately.
I was sitting there listening to you. I'm like, that's well done. Now, you wrote an article today, right? Tell us about that.
So, over at FanBuzz, like I said, I've been covering Group of 5 football, and it's been a lot of fun, and I got to I did a preview today on Florida Atlantic. And I'll tell you what, I know we got a lot of Florida college football teams. But Florida Atlantic's a fun team this year. They're going to be a team in contention in the American. Mm-hmm. All right, USF's got a couple years to go, but Tom Herman's leading that group. Casey Thompson, who's a redshirt, not a redshirt, he's a transfer quarterback from Nebraska, could be leading that team. Larry McCammon's an outstanding running back, probably the top running back in the American this season. They got a great defense. They got some deep offensive linemen. Like I said, they're going to be a fun team to watch, and they got some really good games. I wish I could make it down for the UTSA game because UTSA is going to be good this year. But I'm going to try and make it down for their game against Tulane. That should be an interesting one as well. But Florida Atlantic, they're going to be a fun team. They're going to be a fun program in the American this year.
Look at you, Doc. What was this on again? Where can we find this again?
This is on fanbuzz.com.
All right, fanbuzz.com. FAU. All right, my friend, NFL news and notes. And before we get into previewing the AFC and the NFC East, we got some other things that we need to discuss because even with training camps opening this week, there was a lot to talk about. There's Aaron Rodgers, who gave back $35 million. There's Sean Payton, who can't keep his mouth shut. And, so let's just start there. So where do you want to start? You want to start with?
Well, let's just start with someone who could also be on the list for Idiot of the Week and Foot in the Mouth Week would be Sean Payton. I mean,
that's what I said, yeah.
I would lead with this because, honestly, I thought it was a real low blow. And I know he came out and he said, he still had his Fox Sports hat on. No. Everybody's been kissing Sean Payton in his one ring for the last 10 years while he's been the head coach in New Orleans. Uh-huh. Again, I don't understand this.
Well, before we get into it, let me put the comments up so everybody knows, okay? So Payton was talking, for those of you that don't know, Sean Payton was talking to Jared Bell from USA Today. Jared Bell has been an NFL reporter for 40 years. He's a great reporter, and he's friends with Payton. And so Payton went off the rails with him. Payton says, It doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed, and that happened here. I'm talking about Denver. Part of it was their own fault, relative to spending so much time trying to win the offseason, the PR, the pomp, and circumstance, marching people around, and all this stuff. Payton goes on to say, oh, man, there's so much dirt around that. There's 20 dirty hands for what was allowed, tolerated in the freaking training rooms, the meeting rooms. The offense, I don't know Hackett, talking about Nathaniel Hackett, the former head coach. A lot of people had dirt on their hands. It wasn't just Russell Wilson, his quarterback. He didn't just flip. He still has it. This BS that he hit the wall, shoot, they couldn't get a play in. They were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. He was not done. We're not doing any of that. The Jets did that this year. You watch Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Remember when former Washington owner Dan Snyder put that dream team together? I was at the Giants in 2000. I was a young coach. I thought, how are we going to compete with then? Deion Sanders is there now. The team won 8 games or whatever. So listen, just put the work in. He would conclude by saying, speaking of his quarterback, Russell Wilson, this wasn't his fault. That was the parents who allowed it. That's not an incrimination on him, but an incrimination on the head coach, the GM, who, oh, by the way, is still there, the president, and everybody else who watched it all happen. Before you comment, Nach, the next day, Sean Payton would walk back his comments, and here is what he had to say.
One of those moments where I still had my Fox hat on and not my coaching hat on. And, I said this to the team in the meeting yesterday. We've had a great offseason relative to that, and I've been preaching that message. And here I am, the veteran, stepping in it. And, it was a learning experience for me. It was a mistake, obviously. I needed a little bit more filter. There's a pound of flesh for these guys. And as a coach, you stick up for them. And after a while, we're past that season last year. And I said what I said. And obviously, I needed a little bit more restraint. And I regret that.
All right. So he had his Fox hat on. Need a little more filter. So now, Nach, your take on this.
Well, here's the thing, too. Aaron Rodgers did fire back at Sean
I
Payton
have that
as
as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like I said, here's the deal. He still had. It's true. He did have his Fox Sport hat on, but at the same time, too, I think there's more to this in terms of the fact everybody has been kissing his rear end for years. They've called him a great coach, and on top of that, listen, if everyone's mad that Sean Payton said it, dude, go back a year and watch all the comments since that opening Monday night game against the Seattle Seahawks. People have been dumping on Nathaniel Hackett for a year. So why everyone's all of a sudden so offended by what Sean Payton had to say, it's like we've been all tweeting it. We've all been saying it. So my thing is like Sean Payton was wrong, but at the same time, too, it's just like he let his mouth go because everyone's been kissing his rear end, and everyone's been already crowning him this great guy, and he's going to turn the Broncos around in a very tough division.
Here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say today, this afternoon, to Peter Schlegel of the NFL Network.
A million texts from people in the coaching community saying that was out of line. Yet you see Hackett out here, he's still pumped up. I don't think it affects him as much as maybe it affects everyone on the outside. And yet you and him have this great bond and union together where you've always had his back, he's always had yours.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach. My love for Hackett goes deep. We had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Aaron Rodgers defending his offensive coordinator, which he should. I thought Aaron went strong. That wasn't the only thing this week that Aaron Rodgers did in defending Nathaniel Hackett. But let me just give you my take real quick before we get to what else Aaron Rodgers did. I love what Sean Payton said because it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. Yeah, I know there's a coaching fraternity. But let me tell you why Sean Payton did this. He has to win a locker room that it's been over a year since they've respected a head coach or its quarterback. That's a locker room that doesn't particularly care for Russell Wilson, and they don't. It came out a lot last year that anonymously there were some Broncos players that weren't happy with Russell. They weren't happy with him and his wife's social media exploits. There just seemed to be a lot about me when it came to Russell Wilson. So I felt like this was Sean Payton saying, I'm going to take all the pressure off of my quarterback and my football team, and I'm going to go take – Sean Payton knew what he was doing when he was talking to Jared Bell. If this were a recorded interview, right, where he's talking live, then he could walk that. But he's not an idiot, Nach. He knows this is going in print. He knew what the hell he was doing, and he did it on purpose. Now, he walks it back because it's the appropriate thing to do because, well, morally, he shouldn't have said it in the first place, right?
True, but here's the thing: he sets himself. He also sets himself up as a real target. Here's the deal: what happens if the Broncos finish third?
Well,
is that acceptable?
He's willing to take that. He's willing to take that. No, it's not acceptable. You know, the Denver Broncos better be the second best team in the AFC West this year and be a wild card, or he's going to take a lot of heat. Now, he's not a one and done.
Oh, hell no.
But he better finish in second place in that division. And he's got a tall task ahead of him because I don't know that they're better than the San Diego Chargers. And I don't know, Nach, that Russell Wilson hasn't hit a wall. I'm not convinced he hasn't.
Yeah, I was about to say, as much as I hate to say it, Russell Wilson always, you go even back to his Seattle days, he had 8 or 9 weeks of just MVP-level performances.
Right.
But then it became, then he kind of faltered, and it seemed like defenses had him figured out. Also, this is a new offense.
Right.
So let's see. Let's see if Russell Wilson thrives because he does have an offensive guru. Pete Carroll always wanted to run the football.
Right.
He had Darrell Bevell, Brian Schottenheimer.
Beast mode.
Well, no, but I'm just saying offensive coordinators. We're not talking about guys that we look at and go, okay, hey. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade.
Right.
Bevell did a fantastic job.
Right.
He's part of the reason why they won a Super Bowl and got to another one. But like I said, I'm very curious to see Russell Wilson play in a Sean Payton offense. We saw Drew Brees probably play 2 or 3 years more than he should have, and he had still prolific numbers in those 2 or 3 years. So we'll see.
I think that I get what Peyton's doing. And listen, I also think it's pretty smart that he did it at the beginning of training camp. Because you know what, Nach? Nobody's going to remember this.
Nobody's going to be on Hard Knocks.
Well, right. It's going to be on Hard Knocks. And they play the Jets at some point this year.
They play the Jets October 8th.
That's right. Week 6, 7,
something like that. Yes.
Okay, so it'll be brought up then. And I'd be willing to bet that Peyton has probably already reached out in some sort of way to apologize to Nathaniel Hackett. But what he intended to do with those comments for his locker room and his quarterback, he accomplished. And I'm not necessarily sure he's wrong about anything he said other than the way he delivered the message.
I think you're agreed. I don't – honestly, if we're talking about it, the message was loud and clear. I think everybody's mad about the delivery. He's not wrong. It was a train wreck. And sometimes that happens for coaches. It was just a train wreck. I think Nathaniel Hackett was clearly in way over his head, and just it was not a success. And some guys are just not meant to be head coaches. They're better as coordinators. Because I think Nathaniel Hackett with Rodgers is going to have the Jets offense in successful situations. I don't think with Aaron Rodgers they're going to score 17 to 20 points a game.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers going back to Aaron. Been a busy week for Aaron. Aaron gives back $35 million of his contract, whatever that's called, and gives back $35 million. Okay. You know what? Maybe this is a different Aaron Rodgers. I watched his press conference. Here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say about playing for at least 2 years in New York. He doesn't talk about giving back $35 million, but this is a different Aaron Rodgers.
While he can say whatever the hell he wants, but
that's Mike Soleil.
But as far as what we have,
Some of it is how much fun I'm having. It's all about the body, how the body feels. The team gave up significant pieces for it just to be a one-year deal. I'm aware of that. I think there was an awareness of that. Now, again, anything can happen with my body or with the success we have this year. But I'm having a blast, so I don't really see this as a one-year and done thing.
Did you see yourself, though, even a couple of years ago, playing into your 40s? Like, was that a goal of yours?
Yeah, definitely. I think being the 40-year-old starter was a goal, just because that's kind of that's a big number, and to put yourself in that position means you got to really take care of yourself in the off season. And so I adjusted some things with that goal in mind. Obviously, Tom kind of set the standard, playing the 45, I think, which is crazy, but less crazy when you're starting to get closer to that, because you still love the game and you still want to be there doing it. And if you take care of yourself the right way, you put yourself in a position to at least entertain that thought.
Aaron Rodgers talking about playing and how special it is to play until you're 40. Didn't know about 45, but what do you think of Aaron giving back 35? He said he understands the sacrifice the team made in bringing him in for a year, so he felt like he needed to give a little something of that back, and that's he gives back $35 million to a pharmaceutical giant, okay, who's the owner of the Jets. And you know what? I don't know if they got Dalvin Cook this weekend, but I know he was in for a visit.
Seems like if he's there, I don't think he's left.
As we get set to preview the AFC East, your thoughts on what Aaron Rodgers did?
I know a lot of Green Bay Packers fans that are really upset with him, because had he done that with Green Bay last year, they probably keep Devontae Adams. So they probably are able to keep that combination. Maybe Green Bay's not nearly as bad as they were last year. So I think maybe one day we'll find out the story. But ultimately, what soured the front office and Rodgers in Green Bay?
I'm going to tell you what it was. He just fell out of love. They fell out of love. He fell out of love. Somebody put it best. I can't remember which sports broadcaster said this last week, but they said, you wake up some mornings and you just go, I'm tired of doing business with these people. It's time for me to move on, And Aaron Rodgers came out of that darkness retreat. Now, he didn't handle it well, because I think he BS'd his way through that process, because I do think the Packers tried to contact him. But I think Aaron Rodgers just got tired of dealing with, just tired of being in Green Bay. Now, had he just come out and said so? I think each side was waiting for the other to say, we're done. One of those type of relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever been in a relationship where you're done, she's done, but you don't want to say it? So you end up spending another 3 years together, and you go, what the hell just happened?
Can't say I've ever been one of those, but
well, you're young.
Yeah, this is
well,
true.
you're engaged to a great girl, so that's not going to happen to you. But you get my point,
right? I think I don't disagree. I think you're right there. Here's my question for you: does Aaron still go in the Packers?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Hall
Brett
of Fame?
Favre's there. Aaron Rodgers is there.
Right, but this is. I mean, I almost feel like this is worse than Favre.
No, it's not. You know what? It's what happens.
Because Favre loved Green Bay. It's not like he didn't want to go play for the Vikings.
Think about New England when Tom Brady left. They were bitter up there, right? They were
bitter. Done.
Yeah, they were done. And Brady wasn't done with New England. He was done with Bill Belichick. So that was the difference, right? So, no, this doesn't affect what happens in Green Bay in any way, shape, or form for Aaron Rodgers. They may be pissed at him now, okay? But they'll get over it. They always do.
They'll probably
time.
induct him in 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so what we're going to do, we've run a little over tonight talking about local sports, and we just have a great time doing this. So we're going to save the NFC East for next week. And this week, since we're talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, we're going to now preview the AFC East. That's the Bills, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. The Bills are coming off a 13-3 year. But yet again, they can't beat the Chiefs. They can't beat the Bengals. How do you see the AFC East shaking out, Knock?
Are we unveiling our rankings for them, or are we just talking?
Yeah, no. How do you see the division?
I mean, I got the Bills winning. I got the Jets coming second. If Dalvin Cook signs with the Jets, I still have the Bills first, and then I have the Patriots, and then I have the Dolphins. And let me preface this.
You and I are way different on this. Way. When I say way, I mean we couldn't be any further apart. Go ahead.
The thing is I think Miami's going to be competitive. I'm not saying Miami's going to be a 4-13 team. I think Miami could win 8 games this year. They have the second toughest schedule in the NFL. Their quarterback is not known to make it through full seasons. So that means you got to rely on your backup. Jalen Ramsey is now out for the year with your big offseason acquisition. Eli Apple gets signed, has shown that he can be a good cornerback. He was for the Bengals. But I think the division's too hard. I think the schedule's really difficult for them. That's why I say I think Miami is the 4th team. And I'm not saying, again, let me say this. They get to 7 or 8 wins. That's for me why Miami's
Let's
on the
play
bottom.
this game real quick.
Okay.
For you. Buy or sell. Buy or sell the Miami Dolphins win 9 games.
Well, I'm going to sell because I think they're only going to win 7 or 8.
Buy or sell the New York Jets win 9 games.
I'll buy.
Buy or sell the Buffalo Bills win 12 games.
I'm going to sell.
Buy or sell the New England Patriots win 8 games.
I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy. Dude, I'm telling you right now, this would not surprise me if this division, I think the Bills win, but it wouldn't surprise me if they finish with 11 wins.
Is this division better than the AFC North?
Yeah.
Think so?
Better than the AFC North?
I don't think it is.
Cincinnati runs that division. Pittsburgh, Lockett, we'll see. No offense, but can Lamar Jackson stay healthy? And it is that defense back to its normal ways, considering the leads you guys gave up last year. Cleveland, we have no idea. We'll get Deshaun Watson back for a full season. And who am I leaving out?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, I got everybody. I think this division's better than North.
When we get to the AFC North, my surprise to win a division will shock you, by the way.
If you say Cleveland, I'll be really shocked.
No, it won't be Cleveland. But it ain't the Ravens. So, and it ain't the Bengals. So that only leaves one other team.
You're okay. All right. I can't wait for that conversation.
Here's the thing. I think, and you're right about the Dolphins schedule. It's brutal, bro. I mean, brutal. I mean, we talked about the quarterbacks, right, that they got to face. We went over that last week. We have done that ad nauseum, and I'll put it on the screen again. Herbert, Wilson, Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Rodgers, Prescott, Lamar, and Allen. That's the Miami Dolphins, and add in Joe Burrow as well, right? So I think, and you're right, I think just because of the schedule that the Dolphins are 9 or an 8-win team. But I think that the best team in this division this year wins 10 games because I think they beat the hell out of each other.
Oh, agreed. I think they do.
And I don't think it's the Jets. I think this division is primed for a team like the Patriots to come up and sneak up. I'm telling you, man, don't count the hoodie out. Listen.
I'm not counting him out. I just don't think there's enough firepower.
Listen. Here's Bill Belichick's first press conference of the year. Okay? It's 1:30 of typical Bill Belichick. And first of all, it's July, and he's out there in cutoff sweatshirt. Here we go. Ready?
All right.
This guy is something else.
Through training camp.
And it's not important that you hear the question.
Good day off yesterday. Gave players a chance to get a little bit of rest and gave the staff a chance to kind of get reorganized here for the week coming up. So big week for us. We've got a lot to do, and looking forward to getting it kicked off today and rolling through the week. Finish up with a stadium situation.
All right, so no, I don't think the Patriots will win a division. But here's how I see it. Here's how I see the East shaking out this year. I've got the Bills 10, 11 wins tops. If Tua Tagovailoa, listen, I know, and I'm going to put these teams back up here. If Tua is healthy, right? If he's healthy, they're better than the Chargers. They're better than the Broncos.
I give you they're better than the Broncos. I don't know about the Chargers, even with Tua.
No, I think they're better than the Chargers and the Broncos. So I'll give them a win against Herbert and Wilson, even on the road. They'll split with Allen. They don't go to Philadelphia and win. They don't go to Kansas City and win. They'll split with Aaron Rodgers. They'll beat Dak Prescott. They won't beat Baltimore in Baltimore. And I say they split down the middle. So I say they go 3-3 in the division. They beat Herbert. They beat Wilson. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a path beyond 9-8 for them.
For the Dolphins, yeah, I don't disagree. That's why I say, and again, 9-8. Like I said, this is a competitive division. 9-8 might make you a third or fourth team in this division. And like I said, their schedule is hard. I was looking at it the overall, like you said. I mean, to the games that I see winnable, they do play the NFC East. I don't think the East is going to be nearly as strong as they were last year. I think they beat the Commanders. They're going to beat the Panthers this year. I think they beat the Giants as well. So there's 3 wins. But Philly's a toss. I don't know if they can beat them. Again, I agree with you. I think they split. I think they do beat Denver. I look at the Chargers to open the season. I don't know.
Look, New England last year, I want to go back to New England. They get an offensive coordinator this year, but it's Bill O'Brien, okay? 1995 is what you're getting there. They were 7-0 in games last year when its opponents scored fewer than 20 points, but 1-9 in games where the defense surrendered at least 20 points. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
that's just strange. Mac Jones is not the guy. He's not.
He had, I don't know what you would call that coaching staff last year.
I know, but you know what?
He had a great year with even Daniels.
He's just not good.
I think he bounces back this year.
If he bounces back, based on their schedule, they could be an 11-win team with that defense.
I can see that. Again, I can see this division beating themselves up so much. It's within 1 game. I can see Buffalo at 10 and everybody else at 8 or 9 wins.
Is Aaron Rodgers the difference? Well, he could be. I mean, the Jets to me are either going to be, look, 6 of their 10 losses last year were in 1-score games. The Jets, right? Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers to me could be the guy that makes this team either 13-4 or 7-9 or 7-10. It's going to be one or the other.
Oh, yeah.
There's not going to be an in-between.
No. The AFC's loaded. He did not go to the conference where it's going to be easy to win ball games. Brady saw that, went to Tampa, and, there was just Rodgers in there at that point.
And as good as everybody wanted to scream and cry and shout that the Jets were last year, they lost their last 6 after starting 6-4. So, I don't know. I mean, I see the Jets this year as the 7-10 team. I don't.
I see them. I mean, again, it's how this division breaks down. Because again, if everybody goes 3-3, that's 500 ball, and then you see where they go for either they're out of conference or they're interconference.
I think the Jalen Ramsey injury hurts the Dolphins in their secondary. Obviously, this is I think it's the second best division in the AFC. I think it goes the AFC North, the AFC East, and then the AFC West. So I think it's next. But I know you think I'm crazy, but
I mean I do because I think the AFC West is tougher, just with the 3 teams they have, because it's got Kansas City in there.
I think Kenny Pickett's going to have a year. I just do. The other news I wanted to ask you about.
Oh, by the way, real quick, Cheryl just said that the Dolphins, she's not getting her Dolphins are not getting any love tonight.
Are not getting what?
Any love tonight from us. We're not giving the Dolphins any love.
We're trying. I mean, we're trying, right? I mean, I'm trying. I mean, if all goes well, 3-3 in the division, 10-11 win year. I think the Dolphins are a playoff team. I think they're second in the division.
You think they're second in the division?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I got Buffalo, Miami, the Patriots, and I'm going to put the Jets in last place.
So you're giving the Dolphins
I think
love.
this is a failed experiment. I really believe this is a failed experiment with Aaron Rodgers. I really do.
Fair enough.
Although his receivers were making some great catches in camp this week. What's the latest on the quarterback battle? I had a video, but I can't find it. Between Baker Mayfield, they were just loving all over each other this week at camp. Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask.
Kyle Trask had a great day today. Baker and him have thrown some really great touchdown passes in the red zone. I think we really find out tomorrow when the pads come on. I mean, listen, we've seen a lot of great highlights and we've seen a lot of great things, and these guys and these rookies are doing well. We're going to find out how well they're going to do when they put the pads on, because that's a totally different ballgame. We're still seeing T-shirts and shorts like we saw during OTAs, like we saw during mini camps. I want to see what happens when the pads come on. We're going to see that tomorrow. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin had themselves a day. I'll be honest, man. Kyle Trask, this is not just a job that everybody thinks is going to be handed over to Baker Mayfield. I think Kyle Trask is absolutely putting up a fight, and I think today proved it. Both quarterbacks did have an interception either yesterday or the day before. Well, no, yesterday they were off, so I think it was either Friday or Thursday that they did both threw a pick. But this is a true quarterback battle, and I think what will determine it will be the Jets' preseason game.
All right. Who's your angel and idiot of the week, my friend?
So angel of the week, this actually kind of touches, this goes back to my days at Montana, because Troy Anderson, the second-round pick last year for the Falcons, he's a linebacker, great coverage linebacker. This kid, I watched this kid. It was my first year in Montana, and he was playing for the Dillon Beavers. And they're a Class A team. They played Columbia Falls. It was an epic battle. But you never would have thought that this is the kid that would end up going and playing in the NFL now. But he was a tremendous athlete at the time. Quarterback, linebacker, he was playing both ways because Class A, they didn't have that big a roster. So Troy Anderson then goes on to play at Montana State. He played a full season at quarterback, was supposed to be a linebacker, played 2 years at running or quarterback, then finally moved over, was used as a kind of like that gadget play guy as well. But the Falcons put out a really cool documentary on him and what it's like living out, because his family runs a ranch and they run cows and a farm and everything else. And Dillon's very rural in Montana in the southwest corner. Closest metropolitan to them would be Missoula. And so just a kid from Dillon, Montana. And the kid was just a superstar, both in basketball, football. He was sub-10 100-meter runner in track in Montana as well. Just overall, great kid. Loved following his story during my years in Montana. They did a documentary on him, and it was really, really cool just to see that. Yeah, it's on the Atlanta Falcons team's YouTube channel. Check it out.
I'll have to watch. How far along are you in the quarterback show on Netflix?
I'm on episode 3.
Jesus,
I need to get going. I gotta get going. I'm trying to watch it. You know what's funny? You know what show actually I just got started on?
What?
It's called Alone. And it's a show about people, like 10 people. They get dropped off in the middle of wilderness, and they get like 10 things to bring. Last person standing gets a $500,000. It's been a very interesting show.
I've had a rough week health-wise this week, so I'm having trouble sleeping at night. Mm-hmm. And I was having trouble sleeping last night. So I jumped on Netflix, and I ended up watching a great movie, new movie called They Cloned Tyrone. You need to watch it.
They cloned Tyrone?
They cloned Tyrone. It is an amazing, out of this world, literally, nearly, type of movie. It is great. It's called They Cloned Tyrone. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Jamie Foxx is in it, and he is good.
Okay.
Who's your idiot of the week?
Idiot of the week? Travis Kelce goes to my idiot of the week this week.
Yeah, I heard
in
about
one
this.
day, he punched 2 different guys in practice. And I'm telling you right now, dude, like, it feels like, honestly, if Travis Kelce isn't getting attention, he's seeking it out some way, somehow.
Well, he's pissed because Taylor Swift cut him down.
But it seems like this dude is like an attention whore. Like, I know him and his brother do the
I
podcast.
get it. You're right.
But, I mean, it is getting
He
to the point
hosted
where
Saturday Night Live a couple of months ago.
I mean that's fine, and we've seen players
but
do
you're
that.
right.
But it feels like we always have to hear something out of Travis Kelce all the time.
Does any of this happen without Mahomes?
That's a really good question.
No.
Is it the tight end or is it the tight end or is it Mahomes?
It's Mahomes. It's Patrick.
He's a pretty good tight end with Alex Smith too.
Patrick, what Travis Kelce gives you is what Patrick Mahomes doesn't. In other words, he gives you that quarterback personality from a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is a family man. He's not going to give you that.
No, his brother does enough for that family.
His brother and his wife to a certain degree.
His wife, I will say, a lot of people like to dump on his wife, but I think
she's
his wife,
okay.
She's walked it back. She's not nearly as bad.
I think she's been asked to walk it back. And I think that Netflix documentary, as you go on, you're going to see she's been asked to walk it back, sort of, kind of, because
Okay.
she behaves in this. She does. She gets a little loud and obnoxious at times, but that's her.
That's her.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that really seems to be getting all the love out of this documentary is Kirk Cousins.
I'm absolutely all for it, man.
Yeah.
Did you see how he dressed code when walking into camp? Looked like he walked right out of a Sears catalog. I mean, you know what? I feel like
Did you see how tight his shorts were, bro? I mean, what's up with
he
you?
looked like a straight up '90s dad.
He looked like he was wearing a pair of Speedos and football. I'm like, Kurt, what are you wearing, man? Please
I don't know what he was wearing.
Please don't turn around.
I mean, I think the wholesome thing, and I got into a debate with somebody else because she didn't seem to care for his wife, but I was just like, I think the thing that I really took out.
I know what it is. It's too much of the. You can give too much of the. The Pleasantville small town feel.
But here's the thing, and I'll say this.
I see it though.
But
I
I've met people that are very much like that, and it was just wholesome. It wasn't like it was just too much. It was trying to show this image. It's just naturally who they are.
No, I get it, but it can be too much.
I think we need a little more in our lives. I mean, I think when you consider all the showboating that we see these days,
I get it. It's refreshing in a lot of respects. You know what? Talk to me after the 10th episode.
Fair enough. I'll talk to you after that.
Talk to me after the 10th.
I need to get back into that show.
Yeah. Yes. Please do.
I need to get her to. Let me
So
put
a
that
good
back.
angel and a good idiot. My angel of the week is going to be who I started the show with this week, and I just want to put her back on the screen again and say, Charlene Harmon, thank you for everything that you have done for Brevard County. A true legend. The comments is there, not just in the bowling community, but she's a true legend, period. Her services, again, tomorrow will take place at 11 a.m., and they will be at Grove Church in Titusville. Following service, the family is hosting a celebration of Charlene's life at River Lanes, which her family owns in Titusville, with fellowship and food. So Charlene Harmon, my angel of the week. Now, for my idiot. You know, I never thought that I would have a repeat idiot of the week inside of a month, but I do, Knock. And that repeat idiot is Jeannie Buss.
Really?
Oh,
What did she say this week?
She says that the team, the Lakers, are going to retire the jersey of LeBron James. I'll just leave it there because I'm exhausted and I just don't have it in me to say why this is wrong on so many levels.
Here's the question: does he get his jersey retired in L.A., Cleveland, and Miami?
He should get his jersey retired in Miami, and he should get his jersey retired in Cleveland, but not in L.A.
No, agreed.
And I also want to say, you know, obviously, I hope his son situation, I'm not sure what the update is on Bronny James, but that was just terrible what happened to LeBron's son. Final thoughts, Knock.
You know, always fun as always, Alan. I know I'm ready for Bucks football. I was sitting this morning. I got up and I was getting ready to come to the combine this morning, but I turned on NFL Network and I was watching training camp, and man, it just feels good to watch practice and getting ready for the NFL season. I'm ready for football, and like I said, I'm excited for the high schools to get started tomorrow. Athletes, please drink lots of water tomorrow.
Yeah.
It is
Don't
hot.
play around with this.
Do not play around with this. Drink lots of water. Whatever you got to drink, Gatorade, all that stuff too. Make sure you're hydrated because this heat is not something to mess around with. I mean, I was sitting there with you, and I'm like,
Yep.
I was feeling it.
Yep, no doubt. And Knock, thank you. Always a great show, and we'll be back. I do believe next Sunday night will be the final edition, summer edition of Mouth and All Sports Talk for the summer, because we then flip to for 2 more weeks. No. When's the NFL season? No, 3, 4. We got 4 more left. What the hell am I saying?
3, 4, 2.
4 more.
I was never any good with math, Alan. Don't ask me.
When's the first Saturday of college football?
Well, technically, the first Saturday of college football is week 0, and there's actually a couple of games because you got Notre Dame and Navy, and you got a couple
We don't
of
do
Conference
week 0.
USA
So
games.
week 1.
Week 1 is Labor Day
What's the
weekend.
matchup you're looking forward to the most on week 1?
Labor Day weekend.
And for me, it's LSU and Florida State.
Oh yeah, no, that's an easy one. I was trying to think if there's but that's a cliche. easy
Boise
one.
State and UCF.
That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I think so.
Those are, like I said, there's some fun matchups in week
Boise
1.
State's gonna
But it's
win.
Labor Day weekend. So what do we got? We got 4 weeks.
We have 4 weeks of the show left. Okay, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But you've all figured that out by now. But thank you, Knock. I appreciate it. Obviously, in the words of the great Elvis Presley, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been another great show, and we'll keep you updated. What's going on in the Major League Baseball trade deadline, Tuesday, 6 o'clock. You'll notice the new helmets here above me. I got Satellite here. Thank you, Coach Helton. Titusville over there. Thank you, Coach Holmes. And I got Merritt Island as well. I want to thank Coach Tyler Murray for that. So we're going to do a big show. We're going to do 2 football preview shows. We're going to do one for high school and one for college and one for the NFL. I think the one for the NFL would just be me, Caleb, Knock, and maybe Jackson. If Jackson wants, I'm sure he will by that time be back and ready to roll. So I want to thank our sponsor again, Archaic Design Incorporated. Everything, including the kitchen sink at Archaic Design. Give them a call at 321-956-2066. Check out Russ and Christy online at archaicdesign.com. So for my man Knock, Anthony Nachreiner, I'm Alan Zlotorzynski. This has been Mouthing Off Sports Talk. Have a great night, everybody. Stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad place.